Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. Distinguished guests and esteemed participants, welcome to the second International Conference on Mangroves for Sustainability 2024, hosted by the Open University of Sri Lanka in collaboration with the Turtle Conservation Project, Sri Lanka. This conference stands as a pivotal gathering dedicated to advancing our understanding and appreciation of mangrove ecosystems. Over the next 3 days, we will delve into the multifaceted world of mangroves, exploring their crucial role in achieving sustainable development goals. Mangroves, with their unique ability to thrive at the interface of land and sea, provide a wealth of ecological services that sustain coastal environments, support biodiversity, and mitigate climate change impacts. Prabhadari.
Our conference will feature a comprehensive program designed to address various dimensions of mangrove conservation and management. The conference tracks include mangrove ecology and related aspects, mapping mangrove distribution, potential of mangroves to contain climate change, mangroves as a resource base for ecotourism and economic development, threats to ecological sustainability of mangrove ecosystems, mangrove conservation and management strategies, education and socio-cultural value of mangroves, and innovative technologies for mangroves. Throughout these sessions, we aim to foster insightful discussion, share cutting-edge research, and cultivate collaboration among international experts, researchers, policymakers, and practitioners.
Together, let us explore innovative approaches and sustainable practice that will safeguard mangrove ecosystems for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause. This is the International Conference on Mangroves for Sustainability 2024. To start off today's proceedings, please rise from your seats to pay honor to our national anthem.
to everyone. We will now proceed with the traditional lighting of the oil lamp, symbolizing the light of knowledge and wisdom. I would like to invite the following dignitaries to light up the traditional oil lamp. Her Excellency Devi Gustina Tobing, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia, Professor PMC Tilakaratne, Chief Guest, Vice Chancellor, the Open University of Sri Lanka, Dr. RDS Jayatunga, Additional Secretary, Environment Development, Ministry of Environment, Sri Lanka, Mr. Tushan Kaprusinghe, Conference Co-Chair, Chairman, Turtle Conservation Project, Sri Lanka, Dr. Nimal Kumarasinghe, Chairman, National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, NARA, Professor Kadirasan Kandasamy, Guest of Honor, Honorary Professor, Center of Advanced Study in Marine Biology, Annamalai University, India.
We would also like to request Professor Anton Priyaratne, the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Nalin Abdesekara, the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies, Dr. LSK Udugama, the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Mrs. Vindhya Jayasena, the Registrar, Dr. KGA Vikramasinghe, the Bursar, Professor Stephen G. Dunbar, the Session Chair from the Loma Linda University, and representing the Conference Committee, Professor Shyama Veerakod, the Director, Research Unit, Professor BCL Adapattu, Conference Chair, Director, Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development, Professor Mala Amarasinghe, Conference Chair, Keynote Speaker, Dr. Johan Mahagamage, Conference Coordinator, Secretary Session, Co-Chair, and the representatives from People's Bank and a representative from Sicily Horano. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to request the following dignitaries to take their respective seat at the head table. First and foremost, Her Excellency Devi Gustina Tobing, the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia, Professor PMC Tilakaratne, Chief Guest, Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka, Dr. RDS Jayatunga, Additional Secretary, Environmental Development, Ministry of Environment, Sri Lanka, Mr. Tushan Kapurusinghe, Conference Co-Chair and the Chairman of Turtle Conservation Project, Sri Lanka, Dr. Nimal Kumarasinghe, Chairman, National Aquatic Resource Research and Development Agency, NARA, Professor Kadirasan Kandasamy, Guest of Honor, Honorary Professor of Center for Advanced Study in Marine Biology, Annamalai University of India, Professor Shyama Veerakod, Director, Research Unit, the Open University of Sri Lanka, Professor BCL Adapattu, Conference Chair, Director, Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development, the Open University of Sri Lanka, Professor Mala Amarasinghe, Conference Chair and Keynote Speaker, Emeritus Professor, Department of Plant and Molecular Biology, University of Kelaniya, and Dr. Johan Mahagamage, Conference Coordinator and Secretary, Session Co-Chair and Session Chair, the Open University of Sri Lanka. On this very special occasion, it is with absolute pleasure that I would like to invite Professor Banduni Adapattu, the Conference Chair and Director to the Centre for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development at the Open University of Sri Lanka, to welcome this gathering.
Her Excellency Ambassador of Republic of Indonesia, Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka, Assistant Secretary to the Ministry of Environment, Honorable foreign and local delegates, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. It's with immense pleasure and honor that I extend a warm welcome to all of you as a conference chairperson to propose this welcome speech at the inauguration ceremony of the second International Conference of Mangroves for Sustainability 2024 on behalf of the Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development, the Open University of Sri Lanka, and the Turtle Conservation Project of Sri Lanka. Mangroves are the guardian of the coastal belt. It's one of the nature extraordinary ecosystems, and mangroves contribute significantly to carbon storage and climate regulation. The ICMS 2024 is the only conference in worldwide which tribute only for mangroves. The Open University of Sri Lanka and the Turtle Conservation Project together dedicate to the mangroves in commemoration with the World Mangroves Day on 26th of July by organizing the ICMS 2024. This second international conference is not just an assembly of minds, but a testament of our collective commitment towards ensuring the mangroves for sustainability. Therefore, it's my great pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to all of you who are truly value mangroves and present at this venue. It's our great pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Dewi Gustina Tobing, the Ambassador of Republic of Indonesia. Dear Madam, it's indeed an honor and admiration for the esteemed community who works on mangroves in Indonesia as well as Sri Lanka. Ministry of Environment greatly supports to the protection of mangroves in Sri Lanka. The true leadership for environment development is extended by the dedicated person, that is Dr. R.D.S. Jayatunga. I warmly welcome the Additional Secretary to the Environment Development, Ministry of Environment, Sri Lanka. The great pillar for all these great movements of CESSD is a person who is a Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka, Professor P.M.C. Tilakaratne, the chief guest of this international conference. Dear sir, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this very historical moment. And Mr. Tushan Kaprasinghe, the chairman of the Turtle Conservation Project, Sri Lanka, who is the co-chairperson of the ICMS 2024. His remarkable dedication to the world of mangroves is really commendable, and I herewith warmly welcome him to this great moment. My warm and very special welcome extend to guest of honor, Professor Kathiresan Kandasamy, Honorary Professor, Center of Advanced Study in Marine Biology, Annamala University, India. He fly all the way from India, and I believe that his visit will start another beginning for the mangrove research in Sri Lanka. Dear sir, it's a great pleasure to receive you here, and I warmly welcome you to Sri Lanka. Today, the keynote address of ICMS 2024 will be delivered by Professor Abhijit Mitra and Professor Mala Amarasinghe. I warmly welcome Professor Mala Amarasinghe and Professor Abhijit Mitra, who join with us via online. I extend my warm welcome to Professor Shama Veerakon, who always encourages us for the research, who is the Director Research of the Open University of Sri Lanka, who extend her warm wishes for the research activities of the Open University of Sri Lanka. And Madam, I warmly welcome you. It's my great pleasure to welcome Professor Stephen Dunbar from Lama Linda University and founder of the Profector Inc. NGO, which is related to sea turtles, and the former president of International Sea Turtle Society. I warmly welcome you, sir. and Mr. Sandeep Chowdhury, Director, Value Network Venture, VNV Advisory Services India. Warmly welcome. You all the way you fly from Singapore. Thank you very much for your presence, and again, it's a great pleasure to accept you. I sincerely welcome all the deans of the Open University of Sri Lanka and the registrar and all professors, bursa, and directors of head of the academic departments and my colleagues who presents bring the glamour to this event. Thank you very much, and warmly welcome all of you from the Open University of Sri Lanka. I also extend my warmest welcome to our conference co-chairpersons, Professor Ranavana, Dr. Roshan Silva, Dr. Gihan Danayaka, and Dr. Vasanta Pallavattarachi, and the conference secretary and the coordinator, Dr. Johan Mahagamgi. Thank you very much for all the efforts you have extended to make a success of this event. And I also warmly welcome all the thematic session chairpersons, co-chairpersons, reviewers, and local and foreign universities, and most importantly, the authors who disseminate and share their findings during this conference today and tomorrow. It's my great pleasure to welcome the officials of People's Bank, Nugegoda, and who is a platinum sponsor of this conference. And same time, I warmly welcome representatives of all other sponsors, Sicily Hanaro, Nkea, and Lakdanavi Private Limited. I'm getting this opportunity to acknowledge and thank all the steering committee members who worked tirelessly for make a success of ICMS 2024. And your dedication and hard work are truly commendable. Beyond its natural splendor, Sri Lanka boasts a rich culture and traditions. The centuries-old temples, exotic spices, and the rhythmic beats and traditional music and dance reflect the island's diverse and vibrant heritage. I encourage the foreign delegates to find moments to relax and create tasting memories in the beautiful country, Sri Lanka. And also I welcome all the school children who came here to get their awards, as well as all other members who are here to give the glamour to this event, and media persons, and also the Turyaa hotel staff and media sector in the Open University of Sri Lanka. Finally, I'm getting the opportunity to welcome all well-wishers and interested parties who are here today, and I expect this second international conference on mangroves for sustainability would indeed a fruitful, memorable event ever happening in the world, and with the commemoration of the World Mangrove Day, 26th of July, 2024. And wishing you to have a knowledge gathering, networking, and enjoyable 2 days at this lovely venue, as well Turyaa Kaluthara, and the beautiful Madhuganga Mangroves Sanctuary in Sri Lanka on the third day when we are having the field visit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor, for the warm welcome speech. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor that we welcome today our esteemed chief guest, Professor PMC Tilakaratne, the Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka, to address the gathering.
Very good morning to every one of you. Her Excellency Devi Gustina Tobin, the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Nimal Kumarasinghe, Chairman, National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, as well as one of our Open University of Sri Lanka Council members, and Dr. Tisan Kapurusinghe, Chairman, Turtle Conservation Project, Deans of Faculties of the Open University, Professors, Registrar, Bursa, heads of the departments, and all academic staff members, and Director Research, Professor Banduni Atapattu, Director Center for sustainable development, and all other members seated in the head table, all academics, school children, they are the future of our country, and ladies and gentlemen. This movement gives me a great pleasure and honor to address you at this inauguration ceremony of the second International Conference on Mangroves for Sustainability. Of course, the first International Conference of Mangroves, organized by the Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development of the Open University of Sri Lanka, we held on 26th July 2023. Of course, almost a year ago. And this center of the Open University now becomes the number one center, because organized up to now 4 international conferences. Even that just before 10 weeks, we had what is called water, sanitation, wash and hygiene conference with the patronage of the Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand, and Palikarma Foundation in Bangladesh. And again, 2024 April, we had Plastics for Sustainability, another international conference. So that is, that remarkable achievement as the Open University of Sri Lanka and the Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development. Now today, our focus on the second International Conference on Mangroves and Sustainability. Once again, all the participants, including all foreign researchers and scholars, welcome on behalf of the Open University of Sri Lanka to this conference. Tropical mangroves around the world connect our land and its people with sea, providing millions with food, clean water, raw materials, and resilience against future climate change and its impact on increasing storm intensity and sea level rise. We have experienced what is known as, again, the tsunami, tidal waves, that we did not know that wording, but from Japan that we have learned that tsunami. Then that we understood what is the importance of that this ecosystem, that conservation. Together with coral reefs, seagrass meadows, and intertidal mud flats and marshes, these complex interconnected ecosystems are home to a spectacular range of visiting and resident species of birds, mammals, invertebrates, and fish, all of which helps to maintain the ecological functioning of mangroves. In turn, this rich mixture of biodiversity supports people through fisheries, tourism, and cultural heritage. This conference therefore provides a timely synthesis of the importance of mangroves to people, I believe. Mangroves are vital for sustainability, as I mentioned, due to their multifunctional roles in supporting biodiversity, protecting coastlines, mitigating climate change, and sustaining local economies. Protecting and restoring mangrove ecosystems is essential for maintaining their ecological services and ensuring a sustainable future for coastal communities and the planet. It highlights that in spite of the mounting evidence in support of the multitude of benefits derived from mangroves, they remain one of the most threatened ecosystems on the planet, being lost at a rate greater than coral reefs and tropical rainforests. This has potentially devastating effects to mangrove biodiversity and in turn the food security, where that we need always protection and livelihoods of some of the most marginalized coastal communities in developing countries, where more than 90% of the world's mangroves are found. Research is increasingly pointing to the role of mangroves as a significant carbon storage systems, seizing vast amount of carbon, about 1,000 tons of carbon per hectare over thousands of years. With continuing deforestation, this coastal blue carbon is at risk of being released back into the atmosphere when mangroves are cut down and converted into shrimp fonds in our country and in the world, or replaced by hotels, ports, or used as landfills. Emissions resulting from mangrove losses make up nearly 1/5 of global emissions from deforestation, resulting in economic damage. Having understand the importance of mangroves for sustainability, CESS took the leadership to organize this conference in this scale in collaboration with Turtle Conservation Project in Sri Lanka. Success of a conference of this nature depends on the team effort. I appreciate the commitment of Director, CESS, the Open University of Sri Lanka, Professor Banduni Atapattu, and of course, my right hand side, Dr. Johan Mahagamagi, a doer, always committed to the cause, and keynote speaker of today's conference, and other resource persons, Professor Kandasamy from the Annamala University, and members of the CESS of their untiring efforts in organizing and making this conference a reality. Further, I appreciate local and foreign researchers who will share their expertise, lifetime experiences, and knowledge on mangroves for actively taking part in deliberations today, tomorrow, and day after tomorrow. I hope that all foreign participants from Singapore, from USA, from India, Bangladesh, all will explore Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is having, that of course, that diverse culture, rich hospitality, and very good beaches to have sea bath, and these days very good, and peaceful country now. So therefore, I hope on the above that, on the top of that, this research, of course, researchers, plus search is again searching new horizons for, that disciplinary development, mangroves for sustainability. I hope this, that conference, not only just an international conference, it will, pave the way of, that policy making for the governments as well, how to, of course, protect and conserve the ecosystem in the country. Let me speak my own language. Her Excellency Ambassador, it's that required in Sri Lanka because the news item today, tonight, telecast, day after tomorrow as well. So therefore, I'd like to speak in our own language. I'm happy that you sang our national anthem with me. I was very proud of you. I'm very proud of you. You sang all the wordings I heard to my right. Yes. Thank you so much. And සියලු දෙනාගේම අවසරයි. ශ්‍රී ලංකා අභිවෘද්ධි විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ තිරසාර සංවර්ධන අධ්‍යයන ඒකකය වශයෙන් සංවර්ධනය කරනු ලැබූ මෙම ජාත්‍යන්තර සම්මන්ත්‍රණය ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම කඩලාන පරිසර පද්ධතිය ආරක්ෂා කිරීම සඳහා වන පළමු පියවර ලෙස හඳුන්වන්නට පුළුවන්. කඩලාන පරිසර පද්ධතිය තිරසාර සංවර්ධනයක් සඳහා අවශ්‍ය වන්නේ ඇයිද යන්න මම අමුතුවෙන් කිව යුතු නොවේ. ඒකට හේතුව ශ්‍රී ලංකාව තුල අපි අද මේ ජීවත් වෙන්නේ එවැනි සුන්දර පරිසර කඩලාන පද්ධතියක් නිර්මාණ වීම හේතුවෙන්. ඒ ස්වභාවිකව නිර්මාණය වෙන පරිසරයක්. ඒ ස්වභාවිකව නිර්මාණ වන පරිසරය අද මිනිසා විසින් විනාශ කිරීමට ලක් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඉඩම් ගොඩ කිරීම වෙන්නට පුළුවන්. එසේ නැතහොත් වෙනත් වාණිජමය කටයුතු සඳහා ඉඩම් ගොඩ කිරීම, එවැගේම කලපු ආශ්‍රිත වෙනත් හෝටල් ව්‍යාපෘතීන් ඉදි කිරීම යනාදී අනේක විද හේතුන් නිසා මෙම කඩලාන පද්ධතිය, පරිසර පද්ධතිය ශීඝ්‍රයෙන් විනාශ වීමට පත්වීමට දැන් එළඹිලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මෙවැනි ජාත්‍යන්තර සංවාදයක් තුලින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා විවෘත විශ්වවිද්‍යාලය අපි සියලු දෙනා එකට එකතු වෙලා මෙම කාර්යය කිරීමට පෙළඹුණේ එම උදාර පරමාර්ථය සඳහා යම් වූ බලපෑමක් කිරීම තුලින් ප්‍රතිපත්ති සම්පාදනය කිරීමට හැකියාවක් ලැබේවි යන මූලික පරමාර්ථය පෙරදරි කරගෙන. ඒ නිසා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා මෙම ජාත්‍යන්තර සම්මන්ත්‍රණයේ එක් ඉගෙනුම් ඵලයක් ලෙස අප රජයට ප්‍රතිපත්ති සම්පාදනය කරන ආයතනවලට අනාගතයේදී ක්‍රියාත්මක කළ හැකි මෙම කඩලාන පරිසර පද්ධතිය තිරසාර සංවර්ධනයක් සඳහා කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද ක්‍රියාත්මක විය යුත්තේ යන ප්‍රතිපත්ති රාමුව නිර්මාණය කිරීමට හැකියාව ලැබේවි යන පරමාර්ථය පෙරදරි කරගෙන මගේ වචන සල්පය අවසන් කරනවා. බොහොම ස්තුතියි. ඔබ සියලු දෙනාට සුබ දවසක්. Have a nice day and 3 days productive 3 days for the international conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that very inspiring and strong speech. Up next, I would like to cordially invite Professor Shyama Veerakorn, Director of the Research Unit at the Open University of Sri Lanka, to address this gathering.
Very good morning to all of you and to our audience joining with us online. Her Excellency Devi Tobing, the Ambassador, Republic of Indonesia, our Chief Guest, Professor P.M.C. Tilakaratne, the Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka, Guest of Honor, Professor Kathiresan Kandasamy from India, and our guest speakers, Mr. Tushan Kapurusinghe, Dr. R.D.S. Jayatunga, Dr. Nimal Kumar Singha, Mr. Sandeep Roy Chowdhury, and our keynote speakers, Professor Abhijit Mitra from University of Kolkata, India, and Emeritus Professor Mala Amarasinghe from University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka, the deans of the faculties of OUSL and the directors and heads of the academic departments of the OUSL, Registrar, Bursa, Professor Banduni Atapattu, Director CESSD and Co-Chairperson of ICMS 2024 Conference Committee, all academic members, paper presenters, school children, ladies and gentlemen. As a Director Research of the Open University of Sri Lanka, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Professor Banduni Atapattu, Director CESSD, and the ICMS 2024 Conference Committee members for giving me an opportunity to speak a few words about the research culture at the Open University of Sri Lanka and how it was upgraded during the past years. Like other state universities, OUSL recognizes the importance of developing the potential of its academic staff members by academic staff as well as other staff members by providing them with adequate opportunities to engage in research, to explore and validate novel ideas in research, innovation, and other intellectual activities. The annual Open University Research Session is the first conference held in OUSL for the past 20 years, which is organized by the research unit. These sessions established itself as a high caliber research forum that attracts researchers from local as well as overseas universities and other higher education institutions and research institutes as well. This year on 7th and 8th November, the research unit is planning to hold the International Research Conference of the Open University of Sri Lanka, IRC OUSL 2024, with the objective of bringing local and foreign researchers to one forum. As a further step ahead of enhancing the research culture in the OUSL, the Faculty of Management Studies of OUSL hosted the International Conference on Management and Entrepreneurship, ICOM, in 2022 as well as in 2023, and I hope they are going to have another conference in 2024 as well. In addition, CESSD organized the first international conference on mangroves for ecological and economic sustainability, ICMS, in 2023. Also, as another highlight, this year CESSD hosted the International Conference on Plastic and Environmental Sustainability, ICPES 2024, in March this year. I congratulate CESSD for hosting the second International Conference on Mangroves for Sustainability, ICMS 2024, in collaboration with the Turtle Conservation Project in Sri Lanka from 22nd to 24th July this year. As you all know, mangrove forests provide a sustainable habitat for a multitude of animals, including fish and shellfish species, and are biodiversity hotspots, and stabilize shorelines, preventing erosion, and protecting the land, as well as the people who live there, from waves to storms. Mangroves act as significant carbon sinks, storing vast amount of carbon in their biomass and soil, more per unit area than many terrestrial forests. This carbon sequestration capability plays a critical role in mitigating the impacts of climate change by reducing the amount of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Several UN Sustainable Development Goals, such as no poverty, zero hunger, responsible production and consumption, clean water and sanitation, climate action, life below water, life on land, and many more goals can be achieved if mangroves were better preserved. As you know, a conference is not just an avenue for a scientist or a researcher to present their research to the wider community, but it can be an important venue for brainstorming, networking, and making vital connections that can lead new initiatives and findings. Therefore, ICMS 2024 will provide visions to explore the multi-layered significance of mangroves. The conference brings together an esteemed gathering of scholars, researchers, policymakers, conservationists, industry professionals, and enthusiasts from all around the world. Finally, let me thank all of you for taking part in ICMS 2024 and wish the very best to all the presenters whose research ideas will be showcased here. While congratulating the conference committee of ICMS 2024, let me wish all of you a very productive 3 years of intellectual engagement and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for explaining the research contribution by the Open University of Sri Lanka. Now, we move on to our first keynote address on climate resilience and community-based mangrove restoration in Sri Lanka by Mr. Tushan Kapurusinghe, conference co-chair and chairman of the Turtle Conservation Project. Before that, I would like to request Professor Mala Amarasinghe to present the biography of Mr. Tushan Kapurusinghe. I would like to request Dr. Vattarachi to present the biography of Mr. Tushan Kapurusinghe.
Okay. I'm glad to read Mr. Tushan's biography in this conference. So, Mr. Tushan Kapurusinghe has received his academic training on sea turtle biology, conservation and management from Duke University in North Carolina, USA. He completed his master's degree from Durrell Institute of Conservation and Ecology at Kent University in the UK. Mr. Kapurusinghe joined Young Zoologists Association of Sri Lanka YZA in 1985. He was appointed as a secretary to the YZA in 1990, and he was the chief instructor of the mammals group of YZA from 1990 to 201. Mr. Kapurusinghe is the chairman of Sri Lanka Turtle Conservation Project, TCP, which was initiated in 1993 and was directly responsible in official declaring of Rakow Sea Turtle Sanctuary. Mr. Kapurusinghe served as the project coordinator of the UNDP JEF SGP Tsunami Recovery Program between 2005 and 2007. He also worked as the program development officer of the UNDP's Disaster Management Unit. Currently, Mr. Kapurusinghe serves as the focal person of Sri Lanka on behalf of IUCN's Species Survival Commission. Mr. Kapurusinghe has extensive experience in turtle conservation, mangrove restoration and sand dunes restoration, exotic fish breeding and nature ecotourism, all with a focus on community participation. Mr. Kapurusinghe's main interests are community-based ecosystem conservation, diversification of community livelihoods, protected area co-management strategies, and sustainability of community-based projects.
Now, it's my honor to invite Mr. Tushan Kapurusinghe to deliver the keynote address.
Good morning, and thank you very much for Dr. Vasantha for introducing me, and dear distinguished invitees. So without taking much time, I would like to introduce you about the initiative that we have taken back in 2021 to restore mangroves in Sri Lanka as a collaborative project between the Ministry of Coast Conservation and also Coast Conservation Department, V&V Singapore Company, and Turtle Conservation Project in Sri Lanka. So I'm not going to describe about the importance of mangroves as the previous speakers have clearly pointed out. In Sri Lanka, we have mangroves representing less than 1% of our total forest cover. The need of the project is mainly due to the threats faced by our mangrove ecosystems all around the island in the coastal belt. As an example, in 80s and 90s, we had shrimp farms mushrooming in our coastal belt, mainly in the north and western province. And however, because of the monodon baculovirus, most of these shrimp farms got disappeared. And people were cutting mangroves and burning mangrove areas for hunting and the erosion, and people were using mangrove areas as dumping lands, so there were a lot of threats. And also, when we started this project back in 2021, in August, the Sri Lanka was facing a huge financial crisis, and also at a later stage, we had a political unrest as well in this country. So we needed to bring foreign revenue to this country, and also we wanted to restore the mangroves, particularly after the war which was going on for 30 plus years. And also we wanted to support the government targets that the government wanted to establish or restore 10,000 hectares of mangroves by year 2030. And these are the collaborators of this project: the Ministry of Coast Conservation Department, Value Network Ventures Advisory Service, or we call VNV, and the Turtle Conservation Project. And the overall objective of this project is to enhance the local biodiversity by planting 3,000 hectares of mangroves. And prior to the initiation of this project, since TCP has 3 decades of experience in environmental conservation and habitat restoration, as an example here you can see the beach plant or coastal vegetation restoration projects carried out by TCP immediately after the 2004 tsunami. And also these are the tropical forest restoration projects implemented by TCP in different locations in Sri Lanka. And also we had experience in planting mangroves in Sri Lanka. So we have planted mangroves in Puttalam Lagoon back in 2002 and 2005. And so after planting the mangroves, actually we thoroughly monitored, and also we reported the enhancement of the biodiversity. And this is how you can see the mangroves we have planted back in 2005 in Puttalam Lagoon, creating a green belt. So I was saying that in 2002 and between 2002 and 2005, we were planting mangroves in Puttalam Lagoon and with community participation. And then we monitored the enhancement of biodiversity, and this is how they look like. Now, if you go to Palakudava area between Anawasala and Etale, that area in Puttalam Lagoon, and these are the mangroves we have planted. And with this experience, so Mr. Sandeep Chowdhury, chairman of the VNV, he visited Sri Lanka, and I took him to show our previous experience and our ability to plant mangroves. And then he agreed to invest funding to implement this mangrove restoration project. So then we had a lot of meetings with the top level government officials like the Minister of Wildlife, Minister of Environment, Minister of Coast Conservation. And also we organize community level meetings and also meetings at district levels with district secretaries, divisional secretaries. And then finally we signed an agreement with the at the Ministry of Coast Conservation. So the agreement was signed between the Secretary of the Coast Conservation Ministry and myself. So these are the facts. So the project is to plant 3,000 hectares. And so initially we started with Rhizophora micronata during the first phase. But in our nurseries, we have other species as well, because since this is a 20-year project, so we will be introducing other species. So far, we have introduced Avicennia marina as well. And the budget for this project, for the planting stage, it's 4.3 million US. And this is the implementing structure or mechanism of the project. So we have signed agreements with the ministry. In addition, we have several components of this project. As an example, GIS mapping, research, database management, and also at the grassroots level, the community organizations and community members are involved in active planting of mangroves. So these are the results of our mangrove restoration project. You can see the location in districts, and so far we have accomplished the target of planting 3,000 hectares. and also you can see 13.5 million mangrove plants have been planted under this project. So when we started the project back in August 2021, the flowering season already started to end, but we were able to collect seedlings and start the project. Actually, before planting the seedlings in the ground, we did a lot of soil sampling, and they were analyzed in the University of Peradeniya by our research team. And also, we did a lot of consultative meetings to gather traditional knowledge. We asked the local communities whether the mangroves are there or not, what are the species, and what are the threats, and if we initiate this project, whether the communities will be actively involved, and we explain how they are going to benefit from the project. And these are the meetings, and also we trained the community members how to select the mature seedlings. And so after collecting them, they were bundled and brought back to the collecting centers, and they used different transportation methods to transport seedlings. And then they had to sort out the seedlings to select the good ones and to remove the bad seedlings. And in some places we use nurseries, but we used only a few locations where we have high level of water levels to use the nurseries. But in other areas we directly use the seedlings to introduce in the lagoons. So community members were actively participated, and they planted the mangroves. And also we had to do a lot of gap filling and also maintenance. And signboards were erected to make sure that the community members are aware about this project. And also fencing was needed because a lot of cattle, buffaloes, goats, donkeys, and in some places elephants are not eating the seedlings, but they can damage the fences. Then it will allow the herds of buffaloes to enter and destroy. And also we have carried out research training for our field assistants to collect research data on mangroves. And our GIS mapping team is led by Dr. Lalit Ekanayaka as the team leader. And this is my research team led by Professor Mala Amarasinghe. She's guiding the research data collection on flora, and Professor Kitsir Ranawana is guiding the research team working data on fauna, mangrove fauna. So, now we have already mapped all the planting areas. As you can see here, the GIS maps produced by Dr. Lalit and his team, and the research component. This is still going on. So basically, they are calculating the carbon sequestration levels, survival rates, growth rates, all these things. And also we have a monitoring and evaluation team where they visit all these planting areas, and we organize meetings and we discuss about the progress. And these are some of the field level. And also we have several components in addition to mapping, field conservation, research. Education and awareness is another strong component of this project, where we want to make sure that our future generation, the kids, are well aware about the mangroves and the conservation of mangroves. And also we want to disseminate the knowledge we gather throughout this project, so we work with the media as well. And as an example, this conference is one of the way that we want to disseminate the information. Actually, our research team, thanks to Professor Mala and Dr. Vasanta, we are publishing, I think, about 13 different papers during this conference. And so, so we are very happy that we were able to get some international participants and other partners of the VNV, and they visited, and also they also experienced the mangrove planting sites planted by TCP. So they arrived in a couple of days before this conference, and this is how they were enjoying their time by observing our plants, and also they were enjoying the culture of Sri Lanka. And in addition, we have a strong capacity development component where we develop the capacities of TCP staff, community members, and our research assistants and researchers. And also, this project has a strong livelihood development component where we support coastal communities, especially those who are dependent on marine and coastal resource overexploitation activities. So we provide different types of alternative livelihoods like batik, koyamat, sewing, ornamental fish breeding, tourism, so many activities. And furthermore, we have corporate social responsibility component. We utilize the funding for this mangrove restoration project to support communities, the community needs. So we have established visitor centers, children's parks. We supported for hospitals to purchase medicine, and also we provided audio video equipment for schools. So we have done so many, supported so many activities. And also recently we have opened a community visitor center in Rakava Turtle Sanctuary. This is the visitor center, and the opening ceremony was there. And this is the visitor center, and this is something that I want you to understand, realize. When you use the carbon financing projects, it will not only support your mangrove conservation. Actually, you can utilize the carbon financing to support your conservation, other conservation activities, your research work, and also community livelihood development, and health sector, education sector. So many things you can integrate, and you can develop the country using carbon financing. And in addition, these are the community, we have sales outlets to produce community products, and in upstairs you can see the community products we are displaying there. And also annually we organize a national school art competition called Veralaya Siriya, or Beauty of the Ocean. And so even today we are going to distribute the awards and certificates for the winners. And so this is the team who is behind the scene and supporting and carrying out all these activities. So since 2021, we have accomplished our target, and we hope to continue this program for another minimum of 20 years. In addition, it is expected that we will be implementing another agroforestry project and tropical forestry project. And so since we have a lot of researchers here, academics, so I openly invite all of you to collaborate with us, join with us, and we have Her Excellency, the Ambassador of to the Republic of Indonesia, so we can organize exposure tours. So, the researchers from other parts of the world can visit us and receive first-hand experience in community-based conservation, community-based tourism, community-based rural development, so they can get first-hand experience. So these are the results of our mangrove restoration project. So thank you very much. And also I would like to take this opportunity, because otherwise I will not get a chance, to thank all the supporters from Open University, CESSD, Professor Banduni and her team, wonderful team, and also my staff members of the Turtle Conservation Project. I know that you all worked so hard, and I greatly appreciate, and so this was possible because of your tireless work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that very interesting and enlightening speech. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to announce that we are being graced by a top-level diplomat on this very occasion, and her presence with us in this occasion absolutely brings our strength to our cause. And Without further ado, I would most cordially invite Her Excellency Devi Gustina Tobing, the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia, to address this gathering.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Professor PMC Tilakaratne, Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka, Conference Chair, Professor Banduni Atapatu, Director Center for Environment Studies and Sustainable Development, the Open University, and all distinguished guests that I couldn't mention one by one, the organizer, the conference co-chair, the keynote speaker, all distinguished guests, and for sure also my Indonesian delegation. Also, I noticed there are some delegations from India as well as from the United States. And I also see the young student that could be learn from us to inspire them. And all ladies and gentlemen, Ayubowan, Wanakam, very good morning, Assalamualaikum. First of all, I would like to express my profound gratitude for inviting me to the second international conference on Mangrove for Sustainability 2024, jointly organized by the Open University of Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka Turtle Conservation Project. And of course, this is coincide also with the Mangrove Ecosystem Day that celebrated on the 26th of July. Mangroves play a critical role in supporting coastal livelihoods, protecting coastal from disasters, and mitigating global climate change, and can contribute to ending poverty and creating a livable planet. They grow abundantly along the tropical coast and store considerably more carbon than other species of trees. Mangrove even provide about 6.7 billion in benefits, with the majority derived from carbon sequestration. Now I would like to update you about Indonesia. Indonesia is an archipelagic country, the biggest archipelagic countries in the world. It consists of 17,500 islands, and it's also the total land of Indonesia. It's about 1.9 million square kilometer, and then the sea about almost 3 million square kilometers. So in total about 5 million kilometer. So just to give imagination, if you go to from the eastern part to the western part to the eastern part of Indonesia by normal commercial flight, it took you about 7 hours to fly. So it's so big and so wide, and we are islands country, archipelagic countries. So very, very well connected with the mangroves. Mangroves are particularly important in Indonesia, which has the world's largest and most diverse mangrove forest, with a total area of 4.25 million hectares. That represent about 20% of the world mangroves and consists abundant type of mangrove. Of this, 2.94 million hectare stretch along the coastal line in Papua, while the remaining 1.31 million hectare is around other part of Indonesia, such as Java, Sumatra, and Kalimantan. They are important because they support coastal livelihoods through fisheries in Indonesia, like fish, crab, and other seafood, as well as protecting the country's coast from disasters, and store and estimate 3.14 billion tons of carbon dioxide, equivalent to the greenhouse gas emission produced by approximately 2.5 billion vehicles driven for 1 year. Therefore, playing a significant role, mangroves play a very significant role in mitigating global climate change, not only for Indonesia, but also for the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia has implemented various conservation efforts, including the Mangrove One Map, which maps the extent and quality of mangroves throughout the country. In 2021, the Environment and Forestry Ministry issues an official guidelines on mangrove management that involves community participation. Community participation is very critical and important in mangrove conservation and restoration. And since 2021, the Indonesian government has been paying people to grow mangroves. The program aimed to create new sources of income from participants, to empower women, to increase the profit of fisheries, and at the same time to protect coastal area from flooding. The program has changed the lives of many locals. Campaigning on the importance of mangrove is done through many efforts. Indonesia echoing this mangrove campaign through the bilateral, regional, and multilateral discussions, and of course also through the open campaign. For example, during the meeting of G20 summit in Bali in November 2022, the leaders joined the mangroves plantation and have the mangroves tour to observe the abundance of varied species of mangrove in Indonesia, to show the concrete contribution of Indonesia to alleviate the climate change. Through the program, President Joko Widodo encouraged leaders, the world leaders, to the cooperation and inclusive green economy development. Climate change and environment is a two-sided of coin and have direct connection with sustainable development goals. It is important to balance between environment and development. The Indonesia target to the emission reduction of 29% within national effort and the reduction of 41% with international collaboration and assistance by 2030 are in well progress. The success of achieving the commitment is contributed by the significant reduction of the forest fire, reduction of forest emission, reduction of deforestation, as well as rehabilitation of mangrove until 600,000 hectares. Ladies and gentlemen, last year we also conduct the 10th World Water Forum in Bali, and the President of the Republic of Indonesia hosted the meeting and also attended by His Excellency President Ranil. So during the event, in the sideline of the event, the conservation also in place for rehabilitating and conserving mangroves. The area implements the Balinese teaching principle of Tri Hita Karana, which emphasize the balance of relationships between God, human, and the environment. Unlike the one in G20 summit in 2022, during the World Water Forum, the leaders that participating in this forum did not plant mangrove seeding in person, but handed it to the children, symbolizing to the next generation to continue efforts of environment conservation. So I'm also happy to see now we have the students here. So we are not only discussing at our age, but for them to understand what will be the future for them later, because they will be the one who continue our effort. So, ladies and gentlemen, on this occasion, Um, I would like also to invite you to support promoting strong cooperation between nations for sharing best practices on mangrove conservation and restoration in order to improve the livelihood of coastal communities. For this reason, I have here the presence of 9 my fellow Indonesians to join you to the conference to show the real concrete attention of Indonesia to the mangrove development. In conclusion, the preservation of the mangrove ecosystem around the world is very, very important to support the global blue economy. The blue economy is the sustainable use of marine resources for economic growth, improving livelihoods and jobs, as well as the health of marine ecosystem. The blue economy includes many activities ranging from the marine transportation, fisheries, use of renewable energy, tourism to climate change. The massive impact of mangroves to the world livelihood is very crucial. So let's work together hand in hand to ensure we give the best to our universe. Thank you very much. Tuti, Nandri, wassalamualaikum.
Thank you very much, Her Excellency, for that inspiring speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived to a very important moment of our agenda, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, the launching of the coffee table book on mangroves. This extraordinary publication is authored by the editorial committee of the Open University of Sri Lanka, which is dedicated and experienced in mangrove conservation, community-based restoration efforts. This beautifully curated book not only celebrates the natural beauty of mangrove ecosystems, but also serves as a testament to their ecological importance and the tireless efforts in their conservation. Through stunning visuals and insightful narratives, captures the essence of mangroves, highlighting the resilience and communities that depend on them. We encourage you all to explore the visual journey during our breaks to gain a deeper appreciation for these vital ecosystems. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to request Mr. S.A.D. Senanayaka, representing the editorial board, to present the coffee table book to our chief guest, the Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka. And also I would like to invite Professor Banduni Atapattu to present the preceding books to our chief guest, Professor P.M.C. Tilakaratna. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, I would most cordially invite the following dignitaries to get their particular coffee table book from our Vice Chancellor, sir. First, I would like to invite Mr. Tushan Kapurusinghe, Dr. Nimal Kumar Singhe, Dr. Nimal Kumar Singhe, Professor Stephen G. Dunbar, Her Excellency Devi Gustina Tobing, Professor Anton Pieratna, Professor Nali Nabesekara, Dr. L.S.K. Udugama, Dr. Sunil De Silva, Mrs. Vindhya Jayasena, Dr. K.G.A. Vikramasinghe, Professor Kadiresan Kandasamy, Professor Mala Amarasinghe, Professor B.C.A. Latapattu, Mr. S.A.D. Senanayaka, Dr. Roshan Pereira, Dr. G.L. Dahanayaka, Dr. Johan Mahagamage, Mr. W.D. Manoj, Dr. Utpala Jayawardena, Dr. Mihiri Senaratna, Mr. Sandeep Roy Chowdhury, Miss H.U. Chaturani, Dr. Manoj Prasanna, Professor K.B. Ranavana, Dr. V. Pahalavattarachi, Dr. Vasana De Silva, Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now be breaking to our refreshment break. But before you move outside the premises, we have a couple of announcements from the organizing committee. Firstly, on the first floor, we will be having the community outlets. So within the break, you can go witness the community outlets and you can purchase this merchandise. And also we have displayed the posters. So you can also enjoy the posters. And a special announcement from our sponsors, that is People's Bank. And if you are planning to open an account, you are being given the opportunity where you can fill the form outside from their particular outlet and register an account under your name. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we kindly remind you that we are running short of time, and therefore we have to cut down the refreshment break for only 10 minutes. So I kindly request you all to be back in your seats at 11:05 a.m. sharp. Thank you. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to our next guest speaker. So I would most cordially invite Dr. Nimal Kumar Singha, the chairman of the National Aquatic Resource Research and Development Agency, NARA, to address the gathering. Can we have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen?
Professor PMC Tilakaratna, Chief Guest, and Professor Kathiresan Kandasamy, Guest of Honor, esteemed colleagues, and distinguished guests. I am honored to speak at this second International Conference on Mangroves for Sustainability 2024. As a chairman of the National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, NARA, I am delighted to be among so many passionate individuals dedicated to the conservation and sustainability of mangroves. This gathering represents a crucial step toward fostering global collaboration, sharing cutting-edge research, and implementing effective strategies to preserve this vital ecosystem. As you all are aware, mangroves are unique and invaluable ecosystem. However, despite their importance, mangroves are under threat, mostly due to human activities. Coastal development, aquaculture, and pollution, combined with the impact of climate change, have led to significant decline in mangroves areas globally. This loss not only diminishes biodiversity, but also exacerbates the vulnerability of coastal communities to natural disasters like and climate changes. Conducting research is the foundation of effective conservation. Regarding the role of research in conservation and sustainability, our agency, NARA, along with many other represented organizations here today, has been at the forefront of the research in and understanding mangrove ecosystems. Currently, NARA is actively involved in mangrove research and providing recommendations for the conservation and sustainable utilization of mangrove ecosystems. We have the main mangrove research center at Kadolkele, Negombo, and also mangrove ecosystem around the Rakava Lagoon near our research station there. Currently, we are researching on biodiversity and ecosystem services in order to understand the species diversity within mangroves and ecosystem services they provide, and also carbon sequestration to quantify the carbon storage capabilities. We are actively collaborating with the community to explore the socio-economic advantages of mangroves for local communities and how to involve them in conservation initiatives. Moreover, our organization plays a crucial role in providing insight to shape blue carbon policies at the national level and offer sustainable restoration guidelines for government bodies and NGOs. We also create ecological profile for wetlands, lagoons, and bay areas in Sri Lanka. This involves preparing remote sensing data, conducting image corrections, and mapping basic habitat using machine learning classification and field data. This gathering serves as a fresh platform to exchange the latest research findings, foster discussion, and devise strategies for the preservation of mangrove ecosystems globally. During today's conference, NARA scientists, university academics and students and researchers will share their diverse research findings along with review papers highlighting areas for further mangrove research. Looking ahead, let us correctly commit to the following 5 actions at both national and global level. First, strengthening the research efforts. Prioritize research that address crucial knowledge gaps and guides conservation strategies. Secondly, promoting sustainable practices. Advocate for sustainable utilization of mangrove resources to maintain ecological balance while meeting human needs. Next one, enhancing policy frameworks. Push for robust policies and regulations that safeguard mangroves and support their restoration. Next, engaging local communities, empower and involve local communities in conservation efforts, recognize their vital role in protecting these ecosystems. The fifth one, fostering global partnership. That's also one important area. Cultivate and reinforce partnerships among governments, NGOs, academia, and the private sector to mobilize resources and expertise. Finally, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development of the Open University and all other collaborators who work together to recognize this significant mangrove conference. Your commitment to this crucial cause is truly praiseworthy. Let's use this opportunity to educate, cooperate, and inspire each other to make substantial progress in mangrove conservation. And I wish all the speakers good luck and success at this end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your kind words. Now I would like to cordially invite Mr. Sandeep Roy Chowdhury, Director of Value Network Ventures Advisory Services, India, to address the gathering.
Thank you so much, for organizing this. I think I represent the private sector. So for me, any form of biodiversity action, I think, is not going to be scalable, and I say that with a lot of responsibility, is not going to be scalable without action from all actors, and that includes academics, governments, and the private sector. Why I say private sector? Because solutioning as a business case always makes scalable action happen rather than not having a business case. And I would rather have biodiversity and all our work, you will see the screen behind says blue carbon, but the whole idea is to how can we put tangible economic benefit to biodiversity action. And that is the idea that I'm going to speak about today. And I think there needs to be, and like I said, this is not just one sector or the other doing their bit. Because we have seen that especially in biodiversity conservation as well as restoration, governments and public finance will not cut it, and we will have not enough action because, and when we talk about local action, sometimes it's just too localized. Biodiversity action is a landscape approach, and landscape approach means scale, and scale means economy. We talk about the blue economy. Today, I think I'm just going to spend some time talking about the economy within that blue economy, because without the finance, there is no blue economy. So that is why I want to move the needle a little bit, especially on coastal conservation, because I think a lot of time has been spent on ecotourism, which I like as an idea, but that's not the only solution. And because that is the only economic derivative that I see out of most project proposals that are made to us. And I'm like, if that is the only economic derivative, then this is not a very good business case. So what can we do to make it a better business case? And I say that again with a lot of responsibility. When I say making the business case, I'm not taking it lightly and trying to convert everything to a business case. It will never happen that way. But to achieve scale, you will need to value nature. And that's what this I wouldn't say an abstract, but whatever I'm going to talk about is basically just that. So with that, I would just want to take you through a bit of these are the few of the programs that we do, and this is just as a lesson of what can be done in terms of scale. You will hear about these programs from a lot of our partners who are present here already during their submissions and their abstract presentations. But this is just to give you an idea of how we could possibly have these benefits and how it actually achieves some kind of scale. If somebody could help me with these. Oh, amazing. Exactly. This is the company I represent. It's called Value Network Ventures. We operate in about 20 odd countries. We operate at scale, and that's why I say this is an example of scale. That was not this. We have not received even $1 as a grant money all our existence of our projects, and that's why I say we need to make. At some point, we will need to blend in different kinds of financial mechanisms, grant as well as loans, working capital, and different kinds of private sector mechanisms. It is quite crucial, I think, because otherwise we will always be left in the countries that we come from, of asking the developed world to pay for climate action. It's not happening. As much as we would like to make a lot of noise about it, it is not happening. It is happening at a level which will not let us survive. Our sea level rises, our heat waves, and whatever you see, and I'm not being over dramatic. I mean, we all live in countries where we are having this as a reality today. So while that happens, we need to take action ourselves. And for me, we work a lot with carbon finance. Carbon finance is I think, one way for the private sector to put money into local communities who take climate action. Not into governments, not into different kinds of black hole public finance systems, but directly for the person who is taking action. And I think that is a very, very important way to look at biodiversity action, and not look at biodiversity action as something very high level, grants from governments, academic bodies coming together. Yes, they will all have to come together, but with a common purpose of putting financial inclusion and gender and all of these adaptation elements into the people who are affected and are going to take climate action, and not this room. So for us, that's a very, very important part of what climate change and climate action should look like. so how can you have environmental attributes as an adaptation financing mechanism? That's what the whole idea is. So if I plant a mangrove today, I am actually adapting to the changing climate. But me planting that mangrove is also sequestering carbon that some company in the US is still emitting. And that for me is loss and damage and climate action with responsibility, where that company pays for this person for storing the carbon. But is this person doing that for storing the carbon? No. This person is doing it to save him or herself from the next tsunami. So that's what adaptation is. So what we talk about carbon, and I mean, there's a lot of different versions of what carbon markets is. For me, it's just a tool to finance adaptation for people who are actually taking action. And that's how we're looking at different kinds of private sector engagements. We work with fairly large corporates who fund us, who we then are able to fund different programs around the world. And some of them you would see. Okay, so this is, again, it's a program called Mahonko. Mahonko means Mother Mangroves in Malagasy. This is in a country in Madagascar. Again, facing severe poverty and severe challenges, especially for coastal and fishing communities. Not something that is exclusively one country. I'm not going to go through all of the case studies of all of 130. I'm going to give you at least 3 or 4. That's it. But just the idea of the uniqueness of the challenges that we have in the local context is extremely important. Now, these are basically, you know, this is a large-scale restoration project. Now, what is the deforestation driver here? It is not just climate. It is charcoal. And can I tell people not to cut down trees for charcoal in that kind of an area? Absolutely not. You cannot do that. You will have to use buffer zones of planting and restoration to allow for that fuel wood use to still continue. What governments went and did was they banned. Banning is never the answer sometimes when your survival depends on some kind of resources. So resource banning is definitely not something you can do. Now, if you want to work with different other incentive systems, who will pay for it? And that, for me, is where the private sector intervention becomes very, very important to actually get that scale thing. This is a 27,500 hectare project. Of course, I mean, we still haven't been there. We are somewhere around 3,000. But the idea is to then work at landscape level for these kind of things, especially for us in this program. Logging for charcoal is the biggest driver, and how can you address it by planting and planting buffers, working with community forest management teams, trying to figure out how you can actually save the resource that you're looking at. And all of this is financed by a what? By somebody planting that mangrove and that carbon storage that the mangrove derives itself from. Of course, these are, you know, I mean, you will see lots of examples within this conference about the livelihoods in the community, so I'm not going to spend more time on that. But obviously, again, like I say, reward the people who are taking climate action, not the people who are overseeing that climate action. And for me, that's a very, very important distinction to make, especially when you talk about climate change. This is a very different concept. I wanted to show you this case study. Why? Because there are no communities here. But these deserts, the Middle East had a lot of mangrove forest. They don't anymore. Why? Because we stopped freshwater access to saline waters by building roads and ports along the coastal line of Middle East. I mean, I'm showcasing some different problems for you. Some are people problems, some are development problems. So there is a livelihood element that you saw in Madagascar, which was charcoal. Here, this is a development problem. That I constructed roads and blocked all kinds of waterways, and I suddenly have degraded mangroves all over, and I do not have mangroves growing at all. It's connected to the warming that you're seeing. A lot of Gulf states had 62 degrees about 3 days back. That's not happening out of chance. Yes, it's a desert area, but 62 has never been seen before. So it is global warming as well as local initiatives. Very, very important. You know, this is something in Indonesia. I mean, just you will hear a lot more about it as well. I think the ambassador was here, so I wanted to put it out there. This case study is very different. This case study is from the perspective of mangroves are not just mangroves. At the end of the day, they have a whole economic system around it. And a lot of the programs that we typically would be participating or working with will have a lot of elements of livelihood, community intervention, and this alternative livelihood, we use it very loosely. Organized alternative livelihood. Just setting up 1 or 2 cottage industries here and there is great for photographs, but that's not an economy you have built. The economy needs to be then back-ended with a proper linkage system and a proper banking system. Without a financial banking system mainstream, there is nothing we have created in terms of livelihoods. If people cannot access mainstream banking, then that's not a very good program. And this we say with a lot of responsibility and experience. We've been doing this for the last 20 years. We have seen that to create local opportunities and livelihoods, you have to create the entire linkage of it, not just one. And that's something that's very, very important. In a lot of these programs, you'll have different kinds of products that come out of here. This is just Indonesia. I mean, there are other programs that we have. Mangrove, you have not just, everybody thinks fishing in mangroves, but in mangroves you can have lots of things. I mean, some of our projects have silk. That is the product that is being sold by self-help groups within the mangroves. You would have honey. You would have different kinds of weaving products. All of this is very, very important to build that economic system. And again, this economic system is very, very long drawn. All these projects are 20-year projects. Why is it important? Because if it's a programmatic level, somebody comes in and out in 2-3 years, you've made absolutely zero difference. And that, for me, is why the private sector needs to be engaged in biodiversity action and in scale. This is something we have, internet unstable, doesn't really matter. We have Anil Mistry here who will possibly give you a lot of information about this project. This Bahamo is now a honey brand as well, and this exporting to the US. We have the buyers as well. These are small self-help groups of mangrove women communities. They used to hunt honey. This is an extremely tiger, I would say infested area. I mean, they're still endangered to some extent. But you have a lot of honey collectors being killed by tigers. So this program will also work with something what we call as tiger widows, who have different, who have lost family members due to tiger attacks and who become part of this market linkage right now of actually getting this honey packaged and actually sold on a digital marketplace. These are quite important pieces. I mean, you will see on the side the slide about how many hectares and all of that, but that's not the important part. The important part is to build adaptation within programs. And that adaptation is very, very important for all countries. I'm not showcasing anything in Sri Lanka right now, but it's something that we really, really believe in. And this is something, again, Aruna is here, she'll talk about it later. Similar kind of concepts. These are with federations and shrimp farming federations as well. With people come together, and collective climate action is very, very important. And I am a firm believer in collective climate action at the localized level. Village communities, different farming communities, coastal communities come together, form. Financial inclusion is easier. Instead of giving one bank account to each person, which you will, of course, in due course of time, collectively funding is much, much more effective. And that is actually going to derive more results for you in the long run because of collective negotiation power. That's very, very important, because you're still going to sell the shrimp 10 years later when we may or may not be there. Collective negotiation, bargaining power is much, much higher, especially in the localized context. So that's about it from me on the presentation, but the whole idea of showcasing some of these projects to you was biodiversity action, regardless of turtles, mangroves, you name it, what you may, has to happen at scale. It's great for conferences to have pilots and little, launches, but no, that's not how climate change is going to be solved or adapted to, because it's become a reality. And I say I'm not being dramatic about it. It is something that's at our doorstep. And if we do not start thinking of how we can do this at scale, then there is nothing really to look forward to for our next generation. So to take it very, very seriously, especially the students out here, be a solutioner. We all know the problem. We go on and on about how big the problem of climate change is. Start thinking what's the solution, and start thinking how can we enable this solution, and finance is one of them. So if some of you are interested in all of them, so first, research and development. Second is how will we finance this? And do that, because I have seen a lot of students get caught up in this research part and continuing to research part, but find the solution as well, and how will that solution be funded? Universities need to take note of that as well. Incubation centers, proper centers of hand-holding through the process of making it a business case. Paper is not the end of it. We need action on the ground. And that's where we need a lot of collaboration between academic bodies, public finance institutions, and the private sector to be able to close this loop on biodiversity action. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chowdhury. I think that's a very powerful and an inspiring speech. So can we have another round of applause for Mr. Chowdhury? Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving towards another important keynote address, which will be delivered to you by our guest of honor, Professor Kathiresen Kandasamy, the Honorary Professor, Center of Advanced Study in Marine Biology of the Annamalai University of India. To present the biography of Professor Kathiresen Kandasamy, I would like to request Professor B.C.L. Atapattu onto the stage to present the biography.
Professor Kathiresen Kandasamy, MSc, PhD, DSc, is a world-class scientist currently serving as Honorary Professor of Annamalai University in India. He was Dean and Director in the Center of Advanced Study in Marine Biology. He executed 22 research projects, guided 40 PhD scholars, and brought out about 600 publications with citations of about 20,000 and H-index of 58. He attained the topmost rank in marine biology and hydrobiology in India and one among the top 2% scientists of the world based on citation metrics of American Stanford University. Professor Kathiresen undertook extensive field studies in mangroves of 17 countries, including Sri Lanka, discovered a new mangrove species named after his university as Rhizophora annamalayan, prepared a checklist for mangroves of India and compiled over 5,700 species in Indian mangrove forests as the highest biodiversity record in the world. And he restored mangroves in degraded coastal areas and demonstrated their effects on enhancing fishery resources and carbon sequestration, as well as the tsunami migrating effects in saving thousands of human lives during 2004 tsunami. He organized UNESCO International Training course conducted by him for 15 years for the benefit of about 250 people from 28 countries. In brief, Professor Kathiresen has significantly contributed to mangroves for biodiversity conservation and utilization as a source of high value products. Dear sir, the forum is over to you.
What an excellent introduction about me. Had I known earlier, I would have brought my wife also to listen to this introduction. Beautiful brothers, beautiful sisters, beautiful organizers, beautiful mangrovers. Everybody is beautiful here. I am also beautiful because mangroves are beautiful. Most importantly, mangroves are beautiful. I am now dutiful to talk about mangroves for sustainability. Sri Lanka, the world's first nation to protect all its mangrove forests. Please give a big hand to Sri Lanka's effort. And one among the best universities, Open University of Sri Lanka, because of the able leadership of this Vice Chancellor. And also, I was really excellently taken care of because of the organizers, the best organizers ever seen in my lifetime. Please give them big hand to them. Well, my dear friends, I am a teacher, I am going to talk a lot. Climate change, everyone is talking about. You know, the level of carbon dioxide now is 421 ppm. If it is 600 ppm, no human beings can survive. Global warming, heat waves, sea level rise, erosion, storm, cyclone, floods. You know, the Antarctic, world's largest iceberg, namely A23A, started melting. What is going to happen in the future? Very difficult and challenging. Climate change is a global emergency. You have to limit the temperature rise to 1.5 degrees centigrade, not exceeding 2 degrees centigrade. So what? If we increase more than 2 degrees centigrade, the impacts will become catastrophic. So UN Secretary General recently pointed out, era of global warming has ended. Era of global boiling has arrived. This is the situation. So our global vision is net zero carbon dioxide emission by 2020. Is it possible? I don't think it is possible. The solution can be given by the ocean. Ocean is the solution which can provide the potential solution. Ocean, the largest carbon sink on the earth, storing 93% of carbon dioxide, removing 30% of carbon dioxide emitted every year by us. But this potential is reduced by global warming. The last February 24th was recorded the hottest record for sea surface temperature. This is the situation. My dear friends, bear with me, I am going to tell you a very serious matter next. Very serious matter. What is that? This is the serious matter. 93% of the heat on the earth is absorbed by the ocean. And the ocean currents distribute the heat. And how it is distributed, I will tell you. You see this, this heat is collected in the Pacific Ocean, and the seawater is lighter, warmer, and the warm surface flow, going through Indian Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. Atlantic Ocean region is very cool. Some amount of heat is released, and the water will become heavier. It will sink down. Again, cold subsurface flow will come to Pacific Ocean. So this cycle is very important for distributing the heat energy produced by us. That is how 93% of the heat on the earth is absorbed by the ocean. But unfortunately, this cycle is going to be collapsed. It is going to be collapsed. I think this pointer should not be collapsed. This is the emotion. So by 25 onwards, this is going to be collapsed. What will happen? So the rapid temperature rise, this was never expected by our scientists to happen in this century. This is the situation. So ocean is also difficult. What shall we do? The only person who demonstrated climate change and mitigation is none other than Lord Nataraja from Tamil Nadu, India, from where I am coming, Chidambaram. You look at the Lord Nataraja statue, and this fellow is holding fire in his hand. You see his hand? Fire. And around him there are 28 fires. What he is telling is global warming. From time immemorial, he demonstrated global warming. Okay, Nataraja, what shall we do for global warming? So he is giving a solution. And suppose if you have a global warming, what will happen? He is crushing a person, human suffering, biodiversity loss is indicated here. Just look at it. He is indicating the loss of biodiversity and human sufferings. Okay? He is indicating that. Then what shall we do, Lord Nataraja? He is telling, stop carbon dioxide emission. Stop carbon dioxide emission. Nataraja, we cannot stop carbon dioxide emission. What shall we do? Don't worry. Dance. The tune of climate change. Balance yourself. Balancing is very important. Lord Nataraja, next solution. Mitigation. Mitigation. What should we do for climate change mitigation? Don't worry. The global warming issue. You have a green cover around the world. Have the green cover around the world. That is the solution Lord Nataraja is telling. Lord Nataraja, green cover means which cover? Which forest cover? He is giving the solution, Lord Nataraja, the best green cover is a mangrove cover. The mangrove cover is the best cover because the mangrove forest is being worshipped in the temple of Lord Nataraja, Chidambaram. You are most welcome to this Lord Nataraja temple. This is the solution for climate change. You see, the people are worshipping mangrove forest in Tamil Nadu, Chidambaram, my place. Most welcome to Annamalai University, to this place. Okay, now we realize the importance of mangroves from spiritual value. That is why the traditional value is very important. Native wisdom is very important. So, now we scientists say, just look at that figure, mangrove, salt marsh, seagrass, tropical forest, boreal forest. Mangroves are far more efficient in carbon storage than any other aquatic system or terrestrial systems on the earth. And most of the carbon is stored below the ground, deeper, up to 6-meter depth. Terrestrial forest around 30 centimeter depth. But it is stored for a very long time, millions of years. But terrestrial forests, just a few centuries. And global mangroves store 1.1 billion tons of carbon. So mangroves are very efficient, well proved by the world scientists. So the mangrove carbon trading, the first successful story in Gazi Bay, Kenya. I was also consultant for this project. Now this Kenya women folk, they earn 12,000 US dollars per year and spending the money for education, health, water, sanitation. Successful story is Kenyan story, mangrove carbon trading. And another important thing, Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, used to be very hot, 45 degree and above. And I was consultant there for developing mangrove park in Abu Dhabi. After developing mangrove park right in the center of the city, now the temperature has reduced. The mangroves are keeping the environment cool. It is scientifically proved. So next, mangroves, highly productive ecosystem. The biomass is greater than any other aquatic systems on the earth. No other groups of trees in the entire plant kingdom can survive in this hostile and inhospitable environment. Only mangroves can survive. Marvel of nature, ecological wonder, scenic splendor. Mangroves are very beautiful, more than my wife. Don't mistake, she is not my wife, she is an actress. You know why I am telling this is, I had my honeymoon trip in Pichavaram mangrove forest. So I could not escape from my wife and also mangroves. So this is the mangrove forest. Dinosaur, mangroves were born at the same geological time. But dinosaur disappeared. Mangroves are still surviving. Why? Remarkably adapted. Mangroves are the most adapted systems in the world. Vivipary, breathing root, salt vomiting leaves. Leaves are vomiting salts. And self-supporting aerial roots. What a wonderful adaptations they have. I think ecosystem services, fisheries, biodiversity, being located between land and sea, and it is supporting both terrestrial and aquatic species. And it is the feeding, breeding, nursery ground for crabs, prawn, mollusks, finfish, honeybees, birds, reptiles, mammals, including 341 turtle species, 126 million fishing days per year. The second is coastal protection. Just look at the picture. When the waves are coming nearer to mangroves, you just look at it, it is prevented. So mangroves save 15 million human lives in the world. 65 billion worth of property annually is saved by mangroves from natural disasters. Very clear. Just look at it. Our children should be demonstrated like this. You see how nicely it is demonstrated when the waves are coming, when they are passing through the mangroves, the waves are completely absent. So the wave reduction, if you have 30 trees in 100 meter square area, 90% of the wave action will be cut off. What a remarkable efficiency of mangroves. You see ecotourism. Sri Lanka is the country of ecotourism. 80% of the economy is dependent on tourism. And you have great potential in this country using these mangroves. Globally, we have 4,000 mangrove sites, multi-million-dollar industry. And we can have butterfly parks in this country, fish park, gene bank park. So all these things can be incorporated. Night tourism. I was impressed with Malaysia. What they do is, they release fireflies during the night hours. So night tourism is attracted. Sri Lanka, we can have night tourism. Nighttime tourism is very enjoyable. No hearts and nothing. And in the same way, honey. My friend Sandeep was telling honey. In our Sundarban, we have 200 tons per year. Honey collection, fantastic livelihood. In Thailand, now it is successfully done. Apiculture, honey collection. Then water quality. See, if you grow mangroves, it will convert the toxic heavy metals into sulfides. And the sulfides are buried deep into the soil, removing the pollutants. Water quality is maintained by the mangroves. And economic valuation of these ecosystem services, quantification is not proper. And there are a lot of services. One important service I want to tell you. One important service is every year 3,900 kilogram of oxygen is released by the mangrove forest per hectare per year. So we don't have any economic valuation for regulating service, provisioning service, supporting service and cultural service. We need to have the economic valuation of the ecosystem service. My dear friends, in many countries people say mangrove cover in my country is increasing. Everybody is clapping. But is it the real increase? No. Mangrove cover increases, but the quality of the mangrove cover reduces in terms of forest density. Even in India, we have tremendous increase in the mangrove forest. If you look at it, open mangrove forest is increasing with less forest cover density of 10 to 40%. So it's not an increase. Increase of the dense forest is very important. In the same way, mangrove cover increases, but the quality in terms of the plant composition changes. This is cryptic ecological degradation. The term was evolved from Sri Lanka by my friend Kuba. Kubas he has done. What he is telling is mangrove cover is increasing, but true mangrove species are decreasing, associate species are increasing. That is not a real increase. For example, immediately after tsunami, within a month's time, this acrostichum fern increased tremendously in Sri Lanka. Okay? In the same way in India, we have prosopis, exotic species. Now it is growing inside the forest. So we should have a care on the species composition, whether it is really increasing in terms of species diversity of the true mangrove species. The last 2 months before, IUCN published a report, very shocking. 50% of the world mangrove areas are at risk of collapse. I was also one of the authors of this document. So what we say is, Sri Lanka, South India, and Maldives mangroves are critically endangered. Sri Lanka, your place, South India, my place, our mangroves are critically endangered. So that is why we are here. So we have to do something in this context, how to save these mangroves for the future. Then loss of ecosystem services. The mangrove ecosystem services will be completely lost by end of this century. How are you going to recover the ecosystem services? So only thing is we have to incorporate ecology with society and economics. So the people should be involved and economic benefit should be shown to them. It is socially acceptable for benefit of the local people. This is very important, not the mangrove restoration, the restoration of the ecosystem services of mangroves. So in this context, my friend is here, Nara friend is here. So the mangrove restoration design should include sustainable aquaculture. We have demonstrated in our department that floating cage in mangrove waters is the best for culturing oyster, clam, mussel, finfish. Seaweed cultivation, crab fattening is the most successful in the mangrove waters. So we have to diversify the livelihood and sustainable way we have to do this. Next is the large scale plantation, often a failure, especially in Sri Lanka. The large scale massive ghost planting, resulted in failure to a greater extent. The three approaches are very important. Natural regeneration, protect the old matured forest, like protecting our old people, like me. So protect the old forest because the old forests are more biologically diverse and providing more ecosystem service than the planted mangroves. So first save the old, then hydrological restoration. In the hydrological restoration, we are ensuring the free flow of tidal water, improving the natural regeneration and survival of the seedlings. So for which we are connecting the water flows, desilting, new canal making and all. This hydrological restoration is excellent option of restoration. Ecological restoration. Massive planting prevents the natural regeneration. Don't do massive plantation. At the maximum 20% plantation is fine, but don't do 100% plantation. Then right species at the right sites. Biodiversity planting absolutely nil in the world. Only Rhizopora mucornata, only Abyssinia. How can we increase the biodiversity? So therefore, biodiversity should be considered in the restoration process. Absolutely nil in this world now. Where to plant? People do not know where to plant. People are going and planting in the seagrass bed. Seagrass bed is another ecosystem. That fellow is angry and killing mangroves. So don't do plantation in seagrass. Don't do plantation in the mud flats. Mud flats are important for the birds. So, the birds are dependent on the mud flats where the food is available. We should not go and plant mangroves there. And we have to grow mangroves only above mean sea level. At the same time, the inundation should be around 30% and the drainage should be 70%. So this is very important. Scientifically, we should approach. In India, why mangroves are degrading? I found out the solution. The reason is high salinity. Because of high salinity, low nutrients. Because of low nutrients, bacteria, beneficial bacteria are less in count. So because of this reason, the mangroves are degrading in India, in my place. So Forest Department has M.S. Swaminathan Foundation, they have given the fishbone design artificial canal. This design is successfully demonstrated, but the problem is long-term monitoring is required. Siltation is a major problem, and it is demonstrated the forest cover increased by 90% in the degraded mangrove areas of Pichavaram from 86 to 2002. You can see the remote sensing picture very clear. So the technique, we can refine the technique, we can develop the new techniques. Topographic rehabilitation. Suppose your level is elevated, lower the level by sediment removal. Suppose your level is depressed, more inundation, then you can use the geotextile mesh filled with soil and plant with mangroves. And the culvert rehabilitation to restore water flow in affected sites, the road construction, due to road construction, people are using the The circular culvert is not ideal because the debris will go and block. Whereas the inverted Y-shaped culvert is ideal, we can consider that way. Hydrological connectivity. So very important is hydrological connectivity. Unfortunately, we are not bothering about the hydrological connectivity. 90% of the marine animals complete their life cycle, on mangrove waters and other coastal waters. The young ones are coming from the deep sea to mangroves for food. And after attaining a subadult stage, they go back to the deep sea for marriage. Where they are getting married in the deep sea, no dowry, nothing, happily getting married. And after marriage, they are releasing the young ones. Again, young ones are coming back to mangrove waters. If you clear the mangroves, what will happen? The life cycle of these animals will be affected, fishes will be affected, fish resources will be reduced. So therefore, the seawater entry into the mangrove forest is very important. Any blockage, any siltation, remove it. The next is freshwater. Inland freshwater management, Sri Lanka is very good, but at the same time without caring about mangroves. The freshwater is bringing in lot of sediment and nutrients to the mangroves. When we are constructing dam, what will happen? No sediment, no nutrients to the mangroves will suffer. Some freshwater fishes are coming to mangrove forest for breeding. When we construct the dam, what will happen? No freshwater fish come for breeding. The fish resources will be affected. So hydrological connectivity determines the productivity of mangrove forests. So people, policymakers should consider the hydrological connectivity. This is very important. Next is, nobody bothers about groundwater. Nobody bothers about groundwater discharge. The submarine groundwater discharge. The flow of groundwater from land to sea is the submarine groundwater discharge. It plays vital role in freshwater supply, transport of nutrients, pollutants and contaminations. We don't bother about the groundwater. So during high tide, the nutrients are low. During low tide, nutrients are very high, but no research studies in this aspect by and large. So we need more studies on this aspect. What are the role of microorganisms and fauna in productivity and carbon storage? No research is proper. Research is required here. And bacillus bacteria will convert excess carbon dioxide into rock at extreme conditions. The crab, keystone species of mangroves, preserving the later organic carbon in the burrows. But we don't have much studies on this. Honeybees and other insects play vital role in pollination, seed setting and plant productivity. We need more studies on this aspect. Role of microorganisms and fauna in productivity of the mangrove is need of our more research is required. My dear friends, another shocking news. Don't get heart attack. 82% of our mangrove going to be submerged in South India, Sri Lanka and Maldives by 2060. 2060, myself, Mala may not be there, but still I am telling that 2000, for future generation, 2060, 82% of our Sri Lankan mangrove and South Indian mangrove and Maldives mangrove will go under sea. This is the shocking news. And 25% of the global area will submerge within 50 years. What are we going to do? So when the sea level is rising, mangroves are growing in the intertidal area. So they are moving landward. But the space should be there. If there is no space, how the mangrove landward movement is possible? So landward migration is prevented by the man-made structures, concrete structures we are making. I'm not talking about this hotel, but I'm talking about mangrove area. And coastal management. Coastal managers, where are they? They need to take some steps how to maintain the space. How to maintain the space to facilitate the landward migration of mangroves with the sea level rise. We need more planning in this aspect. Ecological engineering, the latest technology, all the engineers should come to mangroves to work. And the ecological engineering approach is important for coastal protection. So people used to construct only sea dike, engineers, construction. But if the sea dike is combined with the mangroves, it was intact for 50 years. But same dike without mangrove damaged within 5 years, proved in Vietnam. Proved in Vietnam. And the maintenance cost will not be there if you have mangroves. Protecting mangrove is 1,000 times less expensive than building a sea wall in 1 kilometer length. So ecological engineering aspect, you bring all the engineers, you know, the mechanical, not the mechanical, civil engineers to mangrove research. This is the successful model, permeable structure like bamboo structure. Now we are talking about fences. You know, if you have the bamboo structure like this, it will overcome the heavy waves and winds. And also it is facilitating the sedimentation. Can you see the sedimentation? And the natural regeneration of mangroves. And the natural regeneration. In Indonesia, my friends are here. Previously, 20% survival in Indonesia. After this bamboo construction, 70% survival they achieved. Please give a big hand for the effort of the Indonesians. 70% they achieved because simple bamboo construction. After some time, they will remove the bamboo. Okay? This is the way they are developing the latest technology. Mangrove breakthrough, global initiative. Now it is planning to protect 15 million hectares globally by 2030, for which the investment is $4 billion investment, US dollar. Now they are developing the business models. Mangrove positive business model for financial return. It's like a business. Now blue carbon, ecotourism, aquaculture, honey, medicine, timber, water purification, you know, we can think of business models. You please develop the business models. Next, ecosystem benefits. It is estimated 700 billion US dollars you can get if you are restoring 15 million hectares by 2030. Finally, I want to say my success story. I am being a professor, I don't have power, money power, nothing, no power I have, political power. My only strength is student, youth power. Youth power is mightier than any other power on the earth. Realizing that, I involved only my boy students in mangrove planting work. 100% it was failure. When I involved my boy students alone, 100% failure. When I involved my girl students, 100% successful. Doesn't mean the girls are doing all these things. In the presence of girls, the boys are hero, active in planting, smiling, cheerful, laughing, planting. This is the simple secret. You should not run after the honeybees. Have flowers in your hand. Honeybees will automatically come to you. This is the secret I learned 30 years before. 40 years, around 40 years before. So started planting, asking them to take data, how much of fishes are coming after planting. 10 years, 120 times prawn resources increased from the data collected by my students. You just look at this boating jetty. How long the boating jetty in 1990 before tsunami. Okay, just opposite to my department. You see, after tsunami, why this overlapping? Okay. Yeah, it's 1990. Then the plantation was made by my student. And after tsunami, the long boating jetty was broken into pieces. Concrete structure was broken, but not mangrove was attacked or affected. Unshaken mangrove power. And saved more than 1,000 people living behind the mangrove forest developed by my students. And these saved people are rushing to my department, prostrated in front of me, rolling and crying. Because of the mangrove forest developed by your students, our lives were saved. When they were crying out, I felt as if I got Nobel Prize for the youth of my center. So this is the power of the youth. The youth is the future of mangrove environment. And the youth should be the leader of the environment. And they should be inculcated, ignited with the environmental consciousness, environmental responsibility, and environmental awareness. Finally, I want to say recent document IUCN we have written. And finally, I want to say without biodiversity conservation, without protection of ecosystem services to well-being of the people, sustainability is impossible. Sustainability is impossible. Climate mitigation is difficult. So we have to conserve biodiversity, protect our ecosystem services. Let us have a vision to see, bigger to act, heart to care, Mother Nature, and have future. Protect mangroves. Mangroves will protect us. Save mangroves. Mangroves will save us. Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me.
I believe we didn't realize that the time has passed by listening to that very illustrious overview by Professor Kandasamy. Can we have another round of applause for Professor Kandasamy for that amazing speech? With that, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to a special cultural item which is presented by our performers. So can we have a round of applause and welcome our performers?
Tatyanaadi Nubakara, Jityanaadi Mahipati, Tongyanaadi Padamulena, Nangyanaadi Sakagraha, Takaro Meganadas, Chikaro Aswanadaka, Tonkaro Kumbhari Jaiva, Nankaro.
Thank you for your fantastic performance. Our final keynote address will be delivered by Professor Mala Amarasinghe, Conference Chair, Emeritus Professor, Department of Plant and Molecular Biology, University of Kaluthara, Sri Lanka. Before that, I would like to request Dr. Roshan Pereira to present the biography of Professor Mala Amarasinghe.
Professor Mala Amarasinghe is a botanist by training and hold an honours degree in botany and MPhil in mangrove ecology from the University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka. She earned her PhD from University of Salford, UK. Her research on mangroves commenced at National Aquatic Research and Development Agency, NARA, where she served as a scientist for 15 years. She continued her research after joining the Department of Botany, the Open University of Sri Lanka in 1997, and subsequently at the University of Kaluthara, from which her retired as a senior professor in 1922. During her 40 years professional life, Professor Amarasinghe has carried out many research projects on mangrove ecology, primary productivity, and carbon sequestration, and has produced award-winning research publications and also postgraduate who continue research on mangroves. She has also served as a research associate in Network of Aquaculture Center in Asia Pacific in Bangkok, Thailand, a part-time researcher at Royal Holloway College of University of London, a visiting lecturer at Department of Biology in University of Adelaide and South Australian National Herbarium in Adelaide, Australia. Currently, she served as a director of the Lanka Mangrove Museum and a consultant to the mangrove planting program of Turtle Conservation Project. I would like to welcome Professor Mala Amarasinghe for deliver her keynote address.
Ayubowan, I wish you a good day for all these distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and also our children who are seated here. And it's a pleasure to be here in the first place, and allowing me to do this keynote address for this distinguished gathering. So the theme of this conference is Mangroves for Sustainability. Sustainability, you can have many meanings for sustainability, but in this case, the sustainability is keeping life alive throughout a long period of time. So that is happening through all the processes and functions or services that these different ecosystems are providing. For instance, mangroves, like the rainforest, have their own interactions between components, and those interactions produce all the basic requirements for life to exist on this planet. Like it provides all the food for us, the places to live, the habitats, all the other requirements that we need to maintain our lives. So that is sustainability. If we can let them do that job for a long period of time, so that is what mangrove sustainability is. So therefore, all these different natural mangrove areas do that job even if you don't see them happening. So we have different kind of structures of vegetation in these different mangrove areas, and all these are important. I'm sure nobody here in this audience will ever forget the services or all the good things that the mangroves are doing after listening to Professor Kadiresan's very interesting and very dramatic speech, and it's especially good for the children because they also could understand it so easily and in a very simple way. So sustainability, therefore, is the bottom line of sustainability is to keep these structures intact. Like these ecosystems, you have to keep them intact so that all those life-saving or life-giving or life-supporting processes are taking place for a long time to come, for the life to be there. And but the best way out to do is to protect the existing mangrove areas. Like and you realized, and Professor Kadiresan also showed something like this before, because we are mostly interested in mangrove areas because they are very superior in their capacity to trap atmospheric carbon dioxide through photosynthesis and also keep them inside their plant bodies or biomass and also in the soil, which is anaerobic. So therefore they can keep them as carbon for a long time to come. So that is why with all these revelations, all these facts come into limelight, people started thinking about to preserve them or to keep them for all the benefits that we can reap out of it. And the best way out is to keep the natural mangrove areas, but something that we don't do is also that. Like, you know, Professor Kadiresan said Sri Lanka is one of the critically endangered in terms of extent, I suppose, and also the quality of mangrove areas. So that is mostly because of human activities, because we use them for other purposes. And a very recent, very recent and also unfortunate incident is that one of the mangrove areas and also salt marsh areas that were set aside or declared as protected areas or sanctuaries have been removed from their status, removed from that conservation status and released them to develop aquaculture, shrimp aquaculture. So this is something very disturbing because we are having all these conferences, we are doing research, we are writing books, we are making awareness programs to all these different sectors of the society, but the people who have power are doing the opposite. So we become very helpless in this context, and also this is a kind of a very bitter or harbinger that it might happen in future too, and people like us are helpless in stopping them or to to make a lobby against it. And so the best way out is keeping them intact or preserve them as they are. But a second way out is to make more areas that can do the same job. So that is, for that we can plant mangroves in areas that there had been mangroves before but not anymore. So that's called reforestation. And also sometimes we can enrich degraded mangrove areas, as Professor Kadiresan said, because most of them the cover is okay, but the structure and the quality and the diversity is not good to perform the same kind of functions. So you can enrich them by adding more diversity and also improving the hydrological aspects so that they can grow better and things like that. So therefore, the second way out is to and also you can create mangrove areas in areas that have never been supported mangrove plants. So that's called afforestation. So therefore, all these different aspects can expand the existing mangrove areas and therefore expand the volume of services that they produce throughout their lifetime. And what you saw before, the picture that you saw before, is a planted mangrove area in one of the lagoons on the northwestern coast of Sri Lanka, where Rhizophora mucronata has been planted. That's the most favorite and common species that are used, that is used to afforest areas. But it has happened like about 20 years ago, so it has grown up to a mature plantation. And also you can see what I wanted to show you with this data is that we have looked at the amount of carbon. Now, another important aspect that Professor Kadiresan was very dramatically presenting to you was global warming and what it does for our own lives, and therefore why it should be protected, or the capacity of these mangrove areas should be enhanced by planting or by protecting the existing ones. And if you look at these different species and the amount of carbon that they have, you don't see much of a difference, because in all of them, half of the biomass, the dry matter, is made up of carbon, except for some species like Lumnitsera, which has a little more carbon than the other species. So therefore we recommend that if you can include Lumnitsera racemosa in your plantations, you can capture more carbon in the long run, right? So therefore it depends in terms of carbon sequestration or removing or decarbonizing atmosphere. Any species is okay, depending on in what densities they are, and also the kind of requirements that they need to grow better. Because you know certain plants can tolerate salt, like Abyssinia, but certain others cannot. So therefore, depending on those conditions, the availability of those conditions, all of them can capture at the same scale or at the same magnitude. And therefore, you can use any of these for your plantations. And if you look at plantations, now planting mangroves actually had come to limelight after the 2004 tsunami, or Indian Ocean tsunami. Because after the tsunami, they saw there was enough evidence to say, as Professor Kadiresan said, locations where there were mangroves, they were saved because they can attenuate or reduce the strength of the waves, the tsunami waves, and also they allow all the marine sediment to settle before it goes to other places, and therefore it saved life and property. And because of that, people started planting mangroves. So most of the, now in terms of, what happened in Sri Lanka was a lot of money came from outside, from maybe governmental, non-governmental finances came into Sri Lanka for planting mangroves. And after a couple of years, we realized that only 3% of all that effort was successful, and all the 97% was failure. Because the people who people who did this planting didn't know what they were doing. They just had Rhizophora mucronata seedlings, and they just collected from the wild and stick them in the mud, and they went home. And they were happy that they have planted so many hectares of areas that with these seedlings, and aftercare was not there. And after less than 2 years, they realized that all of them were dead, and no investigations were done to understand what has gone wrong, and therefore no lessons learned. So therefore, even today, most of the mangrove planters or the people who are going and planting do not know what they are doing. Right? So therefore, a lot of money is being wasted, but there may be other benefits for them, because for a while they see all these green color seedlings sticking in the mud, so they can take photographs and they can show it to the others, and they can use them to attract more investors and so on and so forth. But still, at the end of the day, you don't get any plantations. And therefore, planting was a failure until recently. And but there had been instances where you see certain patches of planted mangroves have grown to very mature kind of woodlots, or mature, you can't say ecosystems, because only the plants were found there, and actually it can be ecosystems because no studies have been done afterwards to see what kind of animals are there and what kind of interactions are taking place and so on and so forth. But these plantations, the speciality of this is the plants have been planted too close to each other, so the densities were high. But we recently made an investigation to find out how much carbon has been sequestered in the biomass and also in the soil by this kind of planted areas, and we found that it's even higher than the normal, the natural vegetation. So that may be because these plants are so close to each other, they grow vertically rather than laterally, and they collect, anyway they are very good photosynthesizing agents, so therefore they take carbon from the atmosphere and keep them in the stems. And therefore, in terms of carbon removers, this kind of high density mangrove plantations can be recommended, because if your purpose is that, then go for high density. Some areas planted with Rhizophora micronata seedlings by the Turtle Conservation Project, and that is the first ever effort made on this scale, because I have never seen such big areas or such vast areas that had been planted with Rhizophora micronata or any other mangrove, but they have proven that it's possible. But there's a lot of criticism over the way that they have done it, because some people think that subtidal areas are not good for mangrove planting. That subtidal areas are areas where most of the time are underwater, right? But in Sri Lanka, there's a problem that we face always, because we are an area with microtidal conditions, because our tides don't go that high. The maximum tidal amplitude had been 89 centimeters for the last century, so therefore only the tidal areas, or the areas that are inundated with high tide, is very low. So therefore they are restricted to very narrow areas, except for certain estuaries and all, where the topography allows water to spread through. But in most other areas, it's restricted to narrow belts. So therefore, if somebody thinks that the seedlings have to be planted only in the intertidal zones, that's very fair, because mangroves are found naturally in intertidal areas, then we don't have much hope to find places that are suitable for planting mangroves, because naturally our intertidal areas are so thin or so narrow. So therefore, the Turtle Conservation Project efforts have shown that it's possible to plant subtidal areas to a certain extent for this purpose. And also what we found here was that even in the subtidal areas, you can't use areas that are inundated more than 1 meter. Areas that are inundated at high tide less than 1 meter can be used for this purpose, because that is the area that the seedlings only the Rhizophora mucronata seedlings, because Rhizophora is blessed because it has a long hypocotyle so that it can keep all the growing parts above water, but not above waters that are 1 meter high. So therefore, it's possible to have this kind of plantations in subtidal areas, and at the same time, they have to be taken care of because no grazing should happen, no cattle should come and browse these or graze these plants, and then you can expect a good plantation to come up after a while. And in certain areas, like for instance, the areas that have been planted about 20 years ago, what we have found out is that it provides a situation, it provides an environment for, with time, it provides an environment for other species to come and colonize these areas or areas close to these areas naturally, right? The seeds can float into these areas and they can get established. And we have seen that associated with old plantations, there are other species that they have never planted also have got got established. So finally giving rise to a multi-species multi-species patch of mangroves. So therefore this is called, this natural colonization is called natural mangroves, ecological mangroves restoration. And this ecological mangrove restoration is taken as one of the best methods that one can go for. And this kind of subtidal planting has made the environment conducive for ecological mangrove restoration. But can you see that now? Okay. Yeah, this is one of the areas that they have planted in the subtidal areas. You see that it's at high tide even. The leaves are out of water, and during low tide it gets more exposed more, but it doesn't hurt the plants. And so this is another area where the same method of planting has been done, and it has been very successful, and it has within 2 years it has grown up to a height of a grown-up adult, so about 1.5 meters approximately. So therefore, and also in places where there's natural protection with other mangrove, natural mangrove areas, they grow better. And this is what I was trying to explain, how this ecological mangrove restoration is induced or facilitated, or the environment was made conducive for that kind of restoration, because once you have your planted mangroves, it changes the environment in such a way that it allows other species to come and establish in places either on the landward side, mostly on the landward side. And we have seen this happening in a few places on the northwestern coast, where the TCP, the Turtle Conservation Project, has planted some mangrove areas some 20 years ago. Now you see more than Rhizophora mucronata in the same places. So therefore, with time, if you can protect these areas for a long time, it will increase its diversity on their own. We don't have to worry about it. So therefore, we have opportunities to expand the mangrove areas, though we don't have a very big, very extensive intertidal zone like in Indonesia or Thailand, etc., where they have very vast extents of intertidal land, so they can use those lands for afforestation or reforestation, or to increase or to enhance the status of it, the ecological status of it. Here in Sri Lanka, we find this particular problem where we don't have that many that much, that extent of mangroves, that areas, coastal areas that we can use for this purpose. So, but at the moment there are certain efforts had been done by changing the connectivity, the hydrological connectivity, because hydrological connectivity is a crucial factor in maintaining or maintaining this kind of plantations, because when they go dry completely for a long time or prolonged exposure can kill these seedlings. So therefore, if the natural connectivity is not there, it can be made artificially by cutting canals or creeks that bring water in and out during water movements due to tidal changes. But since the tidal amplitudes are so weak in this part of the world, the volume of water that is being brought in and out is also relatively low. So therefore, the circulation is not that strong unless it's made, it's facilitated through this kind of engineering work. So there had been efforts to do that, and we don't have any solid results coming out yet, but as Professor Kadireshan was mentioning, what has happened in Pichavaran mangroves, they have cut canals in a way that the water reaches more hinterland areas or more landward areas, so that those areas also can be utilized for mangrove plantation and so on. So theoretically it sounds good, but in practice I think it has so many obstacles like siltation, and in our case the weak tidal currents that will not take water into that inland areas and so on and so forth. So that's another challenge that any mangrove expansion work has to face. And apart from that, another important factor that affects the success or failure of a mangrove plantation is the quality of planting material, and either you can rear them in nurseries or collect them from the wild. And I think the Turtle Conservation Project has provided a lot of evidence to highlight the fact that the quality of these planting material is important, because the ones, really the mature ones, can give rise to a healthy plant, a seedling and a sapling, rather than the ones that are not mature and so on. So it's a process that one has to learn how to select or how to identify what the mature seedlings are and collect only them. And so quality of planting material is important, and also nursery reared planting or the seedlings or the saplings are also effective, but it's a very costly business to do. And another important challenge that one has to face is physically protecting these planted seedlings, because these areas are sometimes not populated. They are like, away from the human settlements, but there are wildlife, there are animals, cattle and goats and all will visit these areas, and they can graze on them, or they can mess them up. So therefore, having fences is the most simple but the most costly way of dealing with it, because the fences are very often disappear after a while, because all the material that goes into the posts and the wires and the nets and all are being taken by the villagers. And the best way out, as far as I see it, is motivating or using the communities, mostly the fisher communities, the fishermen in the area, to make them guardians of these areas. So, and also it also will need some money because they may have to be paid every month or year or whatever, but they will look after them because they will get money as far as they protect these plants. And also they get a kind of an ownership for these areas so that they will take care of that much better than otherwise. And therefore, and another important process that I saw in this whole planting practice is filling the gaps or the replacing the dead seedlings with live ones. And sometimes you may have to do it once or maybe more than once. And that may be one of the reasons that these TCP plantations are growing healthy, or their survival rates are so high. It's like, by and large, it's like 65% survival is recorded after 2 years, after 2.5 years, which is, I think, is a very praiseworthy effort. But gap filling also costs money, so therefore one has to be conscious about the kind of finances that are required to maintain a plantation up to a stage that it can take care of its own, right? So to pass this vulnerable stage where more care is needed for these plants, or these seedlings, sorry. And also another challenge that we face is that, yeah, we were talking about it, how to develop multi-species mangrove areas, because all this time, most of the plantations are Rhizophora mucronata, but they're doing well, but we can make them better by introducing more species into these ecosystems. And the best example I have seen in my life is the mangrove woodlots. That they are not very big, they're smaller woodlots that the fishermen have developed and maintained in one of the lagoons on the west coast of Sri Lanka. That's Nugegoda Lagoon. So these, what you see now is a picture of that. You see different kinds of species are there, and this is done deliberately. It's not something that's happening I mean, unconsciously or without any effort. These fishermen, they are called brush park fishermen because they are very artisanal ones. They are very poor. They don't have any craft or gear to do their fishing. So what they do is they pile up some brush. It could come from terrestrial plants or mostly from the mangrove plants, because mangroves are the closest trees that they can get hold of. And these branches, only the mature branches, are piled up in shallow waters so that they behave like fish aggregation centers, so that the fish get in there, and after a while they encircle the brush parks and take all the fish out, only the mature ones, not the juveniles. So actually 80% of the catch from Nugegoda Lagoon comes from these brush parks. So therefore, for these fishermen, they can't go out into the sea because they don't have craft or gear. So they have to be inside the lagoons and engage in brush park fishery. For that, they need some brush. So the mangroves provide the main source of brush, and therefore they don't have enough natural mangroves to go for. So therefore, they cultivate or plant mangroves. So this is a plantation that one such fisherman has developed over half a century. So there are more than one species. Actually, there are four or five species in this patch. And we have done a lot of work in this patch of mangroves. This is called Vedikanda. And what we have found was, some of the results are presented in this conference too, that their performance in terms of carbon sequestration is on par with the natural mangroves, because their diversity is high, and also we haven't gone in detail to the fauna that you find there, but only the plants. But the plants are, I mean, there's a range of species, and their carbon sequestration capacity is also as high as in a normal, in a natural vegetation, and so on. So therefore, there are possibilities. You can do it, but it has to be done carefully. The fishermen do this in a smaller scale with lot of care, and lot of protection is given to these plantations, and they protect them like they are protecting their own children. So that kind of protection has made these areas into mature ecosystems, and they provide all the ecological services that they give us. At the same time, they provide the brush for their livelihood. So therefore, this is, and also their knowledge on these different plant species, their capacities, how their seeds behave, and during what time these seeds are being produced, their phenology, and what kind of conditions are required for their planting. They don't have any nurseries. They just go by the seeds. So therefore, they know all that knowledge. They have their knowledge. So all that knowledge should be gathered and used for this kind of practices. So therefore, it's possible if we harness, or if we make use of their indigenous knowledge. So those people, those fishermen have never been to a school even, and they follow all the standard silvicultural methods for their plantation and also their harvesting. They don't harvest the same plot every year. They rotate it. There's a cycle of rotation. If they cut one half of the plot, they don't go for that the next year, but maybe 2-3 years later they go back to the same and cut it. So that's a very standard silvicultural procedure in forestry or in silviculture. So therefore, without going into a school or without knowing any of these things, the common sense have made them very good foresters, and also they have created very diverse mangrove ecosystems, which provides us an example or a model for us to use in our planting as well. So therefore, we can increase the survival of mangroves or their sustainability, but there are problems as well as there are opportunities as well as problems or challenges, and there are ways to deal with them, but we have to put more effort in terms of time, in terms of energy, as well as money. You need a lot of money in some instances to develop a multi-species, multifunctional mangrove ecosystem, which at the end of the day will support a large variety of life in this environment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Professor, for that very enlightening speech. We have one small announcement from the organizing committee, and that is about the cultural night, which will be taking place at 6:30 p.m. right in this particular premises in the lobby. And the organizing committee would like to invite everyone, every delegate, to attend to this cultural evening. And it will be followed by dinner as well as a cocktail night. And it will be a guaranteed opportunity for you to network with one another. So we invite you all to be a part of this cultural night. And with that being said, we are now moving towards another cultural item. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our performers.
ප්‍රත්‍යක්ෂ දුර්වසහ වම්සා රාජ රෝජ රජ රාජ පුත්ත රජ කුන්ති මලි පුත්‍රා රෝද්‍ර පුෂ්ප රණ කාම මාත්‍ය සිත රෝහණයේ රජිදා රාධ පුත්‍ර શિવ રૌદ્ર બૃંદી સવિ મર્મતંગા કરુણા સુબેલુ වෙන કත වාදක යානન සොනගනයේ වසවා રાક્ષසේ රුණ લોહિત બંધિત પુરපસයේ ઇન્દ્રા શાંત શાકલ્ય મહારથિય બત શિવ મહિમા પતિકા માલ્ય માલી શક પૂર્વ અંગરત સિંહલયે અસુરા සුතර ඇද බේලු බඳෙහි බැඳ සරමවනා සුසරා අන්‍යමීය පිදවේන තතෙහි වද ලොව සනහා පුරනා නටනා නටනා නද බෝධිත නවනලුහ නටනා පාශ්වේය දඹදීප පද්ම රජගිරි මුදුනා වජරා सुयोध युद्धपति युद्धार्थी यस यशो मरिची यशना याम्य द्रुम यस पटेरी यस दो यस पवतः यगरा धान्य भोग यस योग रत्न कर कुल उलुमा विदुडा तन तना तम देना तन तना तम देना Sasuniam devati vyapura apapasah yakka Udyamantranam ghora bandhanam rupumakana samata Adya bandhanam padamam vadim ronakulahat surida Tudya sutranam tantavakaram aputana munida Bhava bhava bhanu brahma sutta himpulaha brahma Amra parmi sura sura sena hapati sena 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 Kaliya hotera kala tirtha pura vempelaha nantha Rahman daya bhasa agni ravi samarthi mara Rahman daya bhasa agni Savarti Mara Rahman Jaya Bhasa Agni Ravi Savarti Mara Iti Sri Ravana Batikana Krutam Vashavata Tandava Stotram Sampurnam.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we move towards another important occasion in our agenda, and that is to celebrate and acknowledge the winners of the art competition Virale Asariya 2024. So please join with us to acknowledge and celebrate these juvenile artists for their dedication and hard work. For this occasion, I would most cordially invite to distribute the awards. I would most cordially invite Mr. Tushan Kapurusinghe, the chairman of the Turtle Conservation Project, TCP Sri Lanka, and to join with the first segment of the awarding ceremony, I would most cordially invite the chief guest, Professor P.M.C. Tilakaratne, the Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka. Other provinces preschool section, third place, HAD Tasilu Pantuja Sirimanna from Vision Way Preschool, Madampe. The second place goes to PKM Ayodhya Dasmini Peramuna from the Sussex International School, Kegol. And the first place goes to Tenu Rihansa Disanayake from Brainy Bunch Montessori House of Children, Tolangamur. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor, sir. Up next to join with the awarding ceremony, may I most cordially invite Professor Stephen Dunba on stage. Other provinces primary section category, third place goes to Ahalya Yahasvi Vikramasinghe from Ladies College, Colombo 7. The second place goes to Reshani Rominka Nugegoda from the Vihara Mahadevi Girls College, Kiribati. The first place is received by W.A. Satini Yetumsa Veerasinghe from Mahamaya Girls College, Kandy. Unfortunately, she is not joining with us today. Thank you, Professor Dunba. Up next, I would most cordially invite Emeritus Professor Mala Amarasinghe to join on stage to award the remaining certificates and awards. From the other provinces junior section category, third place goes to Himashi Gaurangana Vitanarachi from Sri Siddhartha Kumara Mahavidyalaya, Medagama. Second place goes to Dinulu Yasara Atukorala from Newstead College, Nigambo. And the first place is received by Tusindu Ranudaya from Sri Sugata Central College, Balakotua. Up next, I would most cordially invite Professor Bandhu Niyatapattu to join in the awarding ceremony. Other provinces senior section, third place goes to I.K. Dimalka Induranpitiya from the Dharmaloka Mahavidyalaya, Palmadulla. Second place goes to U.D. Nirmani Prarthana Karunajiva from Kiridivara Central College. And ladies and gentlemen, last but not the least, the first place is received by W. Rashmi Devmini Silva from Don Patrick Mahavidyalaya, Horana. Thank you very much, Madam and Sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived to the very last segment of our conference. And this conference may not have been successful up to this particular caliber without the contribution of the following dignitaries. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a time that we pay respect and acknowledge for their commitment and contribution rendered to this conference. So, to distribute the plaques for their participation and their contribution, I would most cordially invite our chief guest, the Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka, Professor P.M.C. Tilakaratne, to distribute the plaques. First and foremost, Professor Kadiriyasan Kandasamy. All right, can we have a round of applause for Professor Kandasamy for his contribution in this conference? Up next, Professor Mala Amarasinghe. Professor B.C.L. Atapattu. And last but not least, Mr. Tushan Kapursinghe. Thank you very much, sir.
As we near the end of this extraordinary event, it's my honor to invite Dr. Johan Mahagamage, Conference Secretary and Coordinator from the Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development at the Open University of Sri Lanka to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to everyone. The Chief Guest and the Vice Chancellor, Professor P.M.C. Tilakaratne, Chairman of the National Aquatic Resource Research and Development Agency, Deans, Professors, all academic and non-academic staff members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Open University and the Turtle Conservation Project, I am indeed happy to have this opportunity to extend a sincere vote of thanks to all the personnel involved in making this event success. First of all, I will make this opportunity to thank our Vice Chancellor, Professor P.M.C. Tilakaratne, for providing all the necessary support for the second International Conference on Mangroves for Sustainability, ICMS 2024. I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Her Excellency Devi Gustina Tobin, the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia, for attending the event. Your presence honors us and contributes significantly to the success of this conference. I would like to express our sincere appreciation to Dr. R.D.S. Jayatunga, Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Environment, for your special message. I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Nimal Kumar Singha, Chairman of the National Aquatic Resource Research and Development Agency, for his presence and support. Your involvement is greatly appreciated and adds significant value to our conference. A special and heartfelt thank you goes to Mr. Tushan Kapurusinghe, Conference Co-Chair and Chairman of the Turtle Conservation Project Sri Lanka. As the major sponsor of this event, your generous support and dedication have been crucial to the success of this conference. Without your unwavering support, this event would not have been possible. Thank you, Mr. Tushan. I am deeply grateful to Professor Kadiresan Kandasamy, our distinguished guest of honor, for his invaluable contribution to sharing his experience and expertise on the mangroves. Your insightful presentation has undoubtedly enriched our conference, leaving a lasting impact on all participants. Professor Mala Amarasinghe, thank you very much, madam, for sharing your knowledge and experience with those who are gathered here today, physically and virtually. I also wish to express our sincere thanks to Professor Mala Amarasinghe, Chair of the conference, for her guidance throughout the planning and execution of this event. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Mr. Sandeep Chowdhury, Director of Value Network Ventures Advisory Services India, and Professor Stephen Dunbar from the Department of Earth and Biological Sciences at Loma Linda University, USA, for your presence and expertise have significantly enriched our conference. Director Research, Senior Professor Shama Veerakon, we are ever so grateful to you for your support provided to us from the inception of this conference. I urgently anticipate the upcoming plenary sessions and extended our sincere thanks in advance to our esteemed speakers for agreeing to share their expertise and insights with us. Your participation promises to enrich the conference and inspire all attendees. A special thanks goes to the authors who submitted research papers and shared their novel findings with us. Without the task of reviewing and language editing of the research papers, the proceeding would not have been a success. Therefore, I take this opportunity to specially thank the reviewers for undertaking the difficult task of reviewing all the submitted papers and the editors for the task of editing the manuscript within a short period of time. And of course, session chairs, co-chairs, evaluators, and panel discussion resource persons, The ensuing session would not take place if not for you. So a very big thank you for that. I extend my sincere appreciation to co-chairs of the conference, Professor K.B. Ranavana, Dr. Roshan Pereira, Dr. Gihan Dahanayaka, and Coordinator Dr. Vasanta Pahalavattarachi for their invaluable support throughout the entirety of this conference journey. I will be failing my duties if I don't mention our conference chair, Director, Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development, Professor Banduni Atapattu, for being our guiding light throughout this process, and my colleagues at the Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development who work tirelessly to make this event success. I would like to extend a special thanks to TCP team for partnering with the Open University to organize this event, and also for their exceptional work in arranging the cultural night of the conference. Your collaboration and dedication have been vital in making this conference a success. We also want to acknowledge the kind support provided by the Ministry of Environment, Center for Environmental Studies, Center for Environmental Authority, and the National Aquatic Resource Research and Development Agency. Your collaboration and support have been instrumental in the success execution of this event. We extend our gratitude to all the deans, registrar, and bursa, and directors, and all the academics from the Open University of Sri Lanka for your presence and support. Your participation underscores the importance of this conference within our academic community. We also wish to thank the foreign delegates and representatives from relevant institutes for attending this event. Your presence has greatly contributed to the success and international scope of our conference. My gratitude goes to the Open University printer and his staff for conducting printing work related to the sessions and also the proceedings. I thank Director SETMI, Senior Professor Shanti Da Silva, and Director IT, Mr. Janaka Basnayaka, and their staff for providing the necessary facilities and their extended support to make this memorable event. I also want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Ayomi Irugalbanda for arranging the dancing team and cultural event during the inauguration. Your efforts have greatly enhanced the cultural experience in this event. We also want to express our sincere appreciation to the management and staff of Hotel Turyaa for their excellent service and support throughout the event. Your hospitality has contributed significantly to the smooth running and success of this conference. Apart from TCP, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to our other esteemed sponsors, Soba Danavi Private Limited, Sicily Hanaro Encare Private Limited, People's Bank. Your generous support has been instrumental in making this event a success, and we deeply appreciate your commitment to our cause. A special thank also goes to the media for their excellent coverage of the conference. Your role in spreading awareness and showcasing the event to a wide audience has been invaluable. My special thank you to Ms. Prabha and Mr. Nimuthu for ably comparing this event. Finally, let me thank all of you for being with us at the second International Conference on Mangroves for Sustainability, ICMS 2024. It's a great pleasure to have with you us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we successfully conclude the inauguration ceremony of the International Conference on Mangroves for Sustainable Development 2024. Remember that this is not the end, but this is the beginning. So we hope that you will get the best experience out of the upcoming few days. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, once again.